Cars, start your engines!
Canada's comedic legend gives the special command to the American Le Mans Series field here at Mosport, a track that has always rewarded speed while demanding respect, but never more so than this weekend as records were obliterated in qualifying. A massive crowd has been pouring into this legendary venue in anticipation of the battles about to unfold in the 4 classes of the American Le Mans Series. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Creamer and welcome to the party for round 8 of the series' 10th anniversary season as Mobil 1 presents the Grand Prix of Mosport. August has truly been a month of shattering sports records from Beijing to Road America and now right here at Mosport, which yesterday in qualifying became the fastest sports car course in North America. And with more, here's the first of our 2 pit reporters, Brian Till.
Well, Greg, it was definitely an Olympian effort by Dindo Capello to qualify his Audi R10 on the pole yesterday. That car a little bit loose and definitely onto the front straightaway, really loose as Capello gets up on the red and white curbing. And if you look at it from down track, even more so than that. He's out in the grass and the dirt. He qualifies on the pole. It's an all Audi front row. But if we look at row number 2, Romain Dumas in his Porsche Spyder starts alongside David Brabham in his Acura. And that is the battle not only for the race win, but the P2 championship as well. That's the story and prototypes for GT2. Let's check in with Jamie Howe.
In GT2, the Porsche-Ferrari battle continues as Risi Competizione's Jamie Malo posted the 2nd consecutive pole time for that team. The crew and the guys got the car together, posted the time. They are still in search of their first race win after clinching the GT2 championship last year. Winless this year, not in contention, and neither is the car behind them. Farnbacher-Lowes qualified only 2 tenths back. Morning warm-up was a challenge with a spin and crash. Both car and driver are okay and 2nd on the grid. The 2 teams who are going for points are championship leaders Jörg Bergmeister and Wolf Hensler, who start 4th, and Tapel Racing's Dominic Farnbacher and Dirk Mueller, who have closed the gap to only 7 points. They will be starting 3rd.
Thanks very much, Jamie, and welcome to the booth, Calvin Fish. And Cal, this track's name is often uttered with reverence, and with our Yokohama track map, tell us why.
Well, Mosport is simply spectacular, and it's all about speed, Greg. It sorts the men from the boys, just shy of 2.5 miles, 10 turns, but the area of concern today is turn 4. Because of the incredible speeds this year, this racetrack is taking a pounding literally. In the practice session Friday, the track started to break up. It's right where the cars bottom out in the compression zone there. There you can see the crews doing an inspection, literally tearing out chunks of cement by hand. They went to work, put in a material called T45, described to me as like a hydraulic cement, trying to really keep that track underneath us here. But 2 hours, 45 minutes today, it will certainly be a test. The next problem on this track are the closing speeds, particularly here, right here in turn 2. Take a look at what happened in one of the earlier practice sessions. This is the number 26, James Rossiter, in the Andretti Green Racing Machine. Look at that around the 18 BC racing car. Very hairy moment. And then later in the session, another close call. These boys are going to be on their toes all day long, Greg.
Well, multiple class racing provides that type of excitement, and we've talked about qualifying. We're going to show you the entire starting lineup in the crawl across the top of the screen. But right now, for our touch of gray starting grid, as always, our 4 class pole sitters will introduce themselves to you personally.
Dindo Capello, Santo Stefano Belbo, Piemonte, Italy.
Emanuele Pirro from Rome, Italy.
Hello, I'm Romain Dumas. I was born in ALMS in France.
Hi, I'm Timo Bernhard. I was born in Hamburg, Saar, Germany.
Hi, I'm Johnny O'Connell from Flowery Branch, Georgia.
Hi, my name is Jan Magnussen. I'm from Roskilde, Denmark.
I'm Jamie Merlo from Cascavel, Brazil.
Hi, I'm Mika Salo from Helsinki, Finland.
So there you have it. One of the things to talk about, Cal, we mentioned it. It's become the fastest road course in North America. 136.277 miles per hour was set 2 weeks ago at Road America, blown out by Dindo at 138.1.
3 new track records here, and the Audi's on the front row. A little bit of a surprise looking at the practice speeds, but Audi's looking strong once again.
Take a look at some of the fast tracks around the world. Le Mans, of course, 153 plus. Monza, the Speedrome. But Mosport now leaps to third at 138.12 over Road America and Silverstone right there as well. This place is wicked quick.
It is. It's 10 turns, but the prototypes on a qualifying lap are literally only slowing down in 3 spots around the racetrack. When you look at a telemetry trace, it's almost like a 3-corner circuit. Unbelievable.
All right, watch for the pace car to duck in, and when we go green, 2 hours, 45 minutes of action in round 8.
Ready, go, 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 go!
But the Audis, Marco Werner wanted the pole. He's on the outside there. Dindo Capello takes line at the front. Dumas got a great start. Brabham dropped a spot to the 26 machine.
Rossiter, the young Englishman, a great job in the Andretti Green Acura, has moved up into that 4th overall spot, 2nd in class. Down through turn 2 for the first time. Oh, and Dumas has to defend. Rossiter racing right off the bat.
He really is. And think about this. They have nothing to lose in the championship. They're going for wins. Came so close in the last round at Road America.
This is turn 4, another of those unbelievably quick turns into the legendary Moss hairpin. Really listed as 3 separate parts of this, 2 corners, if you will. Slowest part of the track leading into the fastest part of the track.
It really is, and this is where those P1 machines, the Audis out front, should stretch their legs and create a gap to those P2 machines. Dumas, a great start and defended very well when he was under pressure. Now Brabham's coming back, looking around the outside of Rossiter, up the back straightaway.
Look right there at Marco Werner, 2nd placed Audi. And look at this, Brabs, and he got by him, as you said. So Brabham has got around Rossiter, picked up that 2nd spot in P2. And now once again, it is the 2 points battlers in P2 running 1-2.
Well, these Acura teams have been playing with their downforce setups throughout the weekend. You have to get around the racetrack through the corners quickly, but you need straightaway speed. So maybe Brabs has a little less downforce on that car, gave him the top speed he was looking for.
Going to have a look at that pass from the onboard that Brabham is carrying. Watch this.
Just pulls the toe up the back straight away. The question is then, can you clear that car to the right side? He's on the inside for an upcoming right-hand turn, but Brabs is on a mission. He's looking in that side view mirror, and then total commitment there in turn 8. When they get the tire temps up, that will be flat out.
Over a lap in the books. One of the things that you need to take into consideration, guys, is the weather. More cloud cover today than we've had all weekend long. That means a cooler track surface. The ambient still about the same, but these tires, it's going to take them another lap or 2 to get pressure and temperature than it has in the past. So right now, these first couple of laps, treacherous indeed for these guys.
Watching the prototype field stream along, and look at this now, Rossiter needing to defend from the number 15 Lowe's Acura. Luis Diaz behind the wheel of that car. That is a car that has had some tremendous pace this season, but horrible luck, and looking to do something a little bit different now.
Well, they've been struggling here a little bit with mechanical grip in the slow speed corner, but in the high speed stuff, they're very happy. Quick correction is Scott Sharp behind the wheel of the 9 Patron Highcroft machine. Sharp started the car.
And there is the BP Castrol. That is the Mazda Lola that had a very good run here last year, has shown some good form, just not quite where they wanted to be in qualifying at this point. Now in GT2, let's take a look here, and it is the Risi Competizione Ferrari that continues to lead from the pole down through turn 1. In fact, opening up a bit of a margin now over the Farnbacher Lowe's Porsche, and it's got that Tafel Ferrari right behind it.
Well, the Ferraris have been extremely quick of late. They've really done a lot of development with that car, working on the aero, the engine, the suspension. And Risi tried a new splitter here this weekend. Very comfortable with the car. Talking to Mick Asalo yesterday, said we haven't made 1 change since the test that they did here on Tuesday.
Interesting, the driver in that 87 Porsche right there leading into the turn is a driver we haven't seen a lot of here this season, certainly, but he's not unfamiliar with racing in the American Le Mans Series, Pierre Caffa.
You see the Flying Lizard Porsche, the 45 right there behind him as well. Wolf Hensler, Jörg Bergmeister leading the championship. They need to stay close to that Tafel Ferrari that's in front of them, but both the 45 and the 46 this morning for Flying Lizard had some problems in the drive line. They think they've gotten those worked out. That's a scary moment when you start to go into the race, you run the morning warm-up, and you have a problem.
Well, Calvin, as we're watching Mello draw away from this great scrap, as there's a look at that Flying Lizard number 45 of Hensler. This Ferrari with that sort of mid-engine layout, the general consensus is that should be a much better package in these long duration corners.
It really should, and look at Farnbacher now really working over Caffer. They're coming through 9 and 10. This has allowed Hensler to close up a little bit, and the Flying Lizard boys really think they may have dodged a bullet by having that problem in the warm-up as opposed to the beginning of this race. 4 rounds to go. You've got to keep your nose clean. You have to keep finishing. You can't take a hit in the points.
Battle for second in GT2 down through turn 2. There goes leader Mello. Then you see those 3 cars battling, and then behind them is the Panos from Prototype Technology Group just coming into your picture with another of the Flying Lizard entries. But this battle for second is a good one, and keep in mind it's third and fourth in that battle right now that are battling to the points.
Well, the Taffel guys, Dirk Mueller told me earlier this week, and he said we don't need to win this race. We're going to do it smart. We just need to finish ahead of Flying Lizard and get those championship points. So smart he'll be. He's not going to do anything dangerous. And
it's very early in the going here, so everybody just trying to let things sort out just a little bit. But they've got to be a little bit concerned on one level in terms of a race win, watching Mello get away. But when you're thinking about that championship, they're right where they want to be, keeping everybody close together. Here are your 4 leaders in the Mobil 1 Grand Prix of Mosport. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Acura. Acura Advance. By Touch of Gray. New Touch of Gray lets you keep some gray hair. Touch of Gray for the generation that swore it would never get old. And by Michelin, a better way forward. And our overall race leaders here at Mosport already coming into lap traffic as they work their way down into turn 1. And we've got some great looks for you to be enjoying here. So to get your heart pumping with the thrill of speed, log on now to speedtv.com, keyword Acura, and take your turn in the driver's seat with Speed Onboard Pass, presented by Acura. 7 great onboards throughout the field, and you can choose them, putting yourself literally in the driver's seat. We are working that traffic we talked about at Calvin. While they were in traffic, we've had an overall lead change.
Well, the P1 machines, Dindo Capello and this man, Marco Werner, were coming up on some slower GT2 traffic, entering turn 2, and this is what happened. Marco Werner now up front, and this is how he grabbed the lead. Dindo Capello attempting to read the traffic. This is through turn 1. See them going around the 12 machine, then look up ahead. There it is. Dindo couldn't see a way through safely, had to back off the gas. Marco flashes by in an instant. This is on board with Dindo down into turn 1. There's the 12 machine up ahead. He commits to the right-hand side here on exit. That gap closes. He wasn't sure, lifts off the gas, and there goes his teammate.
Now looking at it from the head-on shot, boy, he got squeezed big time over into the pit exit lane.
He really did, and it's so difficult around this racetrack. I mean, you're totally focused on the corner ahead at these speeds, so you can't really blame the slower traffic there. They're trying to keep the car on the road.
Calvin, I was talking to Romain Dumas just a little bit earlier about the GT traffic and the speed disparity between prototypes and GT2 cars, and he said you have to look so far up the road. If you're coming down the front straightaway and you see a GT2 car turning into turn 1, you know you're going to catch him at the apex of turn 2 since it's flat out for these prototype 2 cars. You may need to slow down right there just to make sure that you can time your pass where it needs to be done.
Well, that's a great point, Brian, with the closing speeds here. You can't believe how quickly you gobble up. It's like a Pac-Man eating his way around a circuit here with these prototypes against the GT cars. And now we're on board with Dindo. He's had 4 wins here. Turn 8 is where he's simply spectacular. He hasn't moved through there where his engineer claims that he did by mistake, forgot to hit the brake pedal, cruised it through there, looked at the delta, which is the split time on his dash, said, wow, that worked. His teammates have tried it and they said, no way, we're not brave enough. So Dindo Capello loving the challenge of Mosport.
As you pointed out, he does seem to excel here and showing why, obviously, in that qualifying run. Now let's check into GT2. Again, some great battling going on. There is the number 87. That's the car of Pierre Coffer, now in the 3rd spot in class, as the Ferrari from Taffel Racing of Dominic Farnbacher has gone by and opened the margin up just a little bit. And now with some prototypes working through, right behind Coffer is Hensler in the 45 Flying Lizard entry. But that's bad news for the Lizard car in terms of, again, keeping our eye on that points championship, because now the Farnbacher car has gone in front and has split him just a little bit.
They have, and there you see Gerardo Bonilla in the BP machine, the Mazda, splitting these GT2 cars. So it's Ferrari up front, then 2 Porsches right behind them. But as you said, Greg, the championship is the key. The 45 has to keep tabs on the 71 car.
And the number 71 car that we're talking about, of Dominic Farnbach in the Toffel Racing entry, the Bell Micro car. We talked about this, the traffic. Watch this moment, Cal, the 26 of Rossiter.
This is turn 10. Rossiter goes to the inside. He lost one of those dive planes, I think. In that incident, you saw a piece of carbon fiber fly there. Very aggressive move by James Rossiter, we've seen throughout this race. Total commitment from these prototype boys.
And losing one of those dive planes on this track, which is high downforce setup, that's huge.
It really is. It's probably about 50 to 100 pounds of downforce, so it's a considerable amount, and it can cause an imbalance in the handling. And with the tire situation, is very critical. You need to keep that balance, otherwise it may change their decision throughout the course of this race.
Well, Calvin, when I was talking to Romain Dumas earlier, the other thing that we was talking about was having experience in GT2 cars. He said, I've driven them, so as Timo, we know what to expect. We know what they can and what they cannot do. So we have a better understanding of where we can make a pass and make it easier on ourselves and the GT2 car. He said, as I look down pit lane, guys like Rossiter, they don't have that experience. Neither does Montagny. Perhaps, just perhaps, that's what we just saw.
I think for James Rossiter also, Brian, he has to learn all of the competitors out here. He's relatively new to this series, so he has to learn their traits.
Now back to 14th overall, and there is the number 3, the CompuWare Corvette, Johnny O'Connell from pole. He is sitting right now in that 14th spot, and he has opened the margin up just a little bit. You just saw a flash of the team car coming in behind him, the number 4 of Olivier Beretta. But O'Connell has had just one of those magic years and has put together not only great races, but also some great qualifying runs. And when you get a pole here at Mosport, you've done something, especially when it's over the driver of that car right there, Olivier Beretta, that second Corvette, who is the pole meister. But there was a big moment for Ollie Gavin in this car in a practice session, and it's why Dindo was so cautious going into 2.
It really was. Here you see the aftermath. Ollie Gavin has left the road. He said he just went in there too deep, got out in the dirt, and is just a passenger. That is a long ride as you head first into that tire barrier. Unbelievably, look at the damage here within the course of a couple of hours. The Corvette team had gone to work and got that car back out in qualifying for Olivier Beretta.
The Fields car is one back now.
And Beretta, with huge faith in that crew, as you would expect, went out and just flogged it and qualified, just missing pole by about a 10th.
I said, joked with Ollie Gavin yesterday, I said, you can now have a t-shirt made saying that I survived a crash at the King and Turn 2 at Mosport. Not many guys can say that. Unbelievable high-speed stuff here that we've been to these last couple of rounds.
Ollie Gavin diving down into turn 1 with all of that traffic around him, GT2 cars and the prototypes. Boy, you've got to be on your game here at Mosport every moment of every lap because of this type of traffic. But Olivier Beretta has done some amazing stuff here at this venue over the course of his career in the American Le Mans Series. You can view exclusive video content from the American Le Mans Series on SpeedTV.com. It's the most comprehensive video coverage in series history, both on the track and off. And fan video submissions are always welcome. That's AmericanLeMans.com. Once again, here are the 4 class leaders while Marco Werner continues to lead overall. Mosport is a venue that always gets your heart pumping, and to get your heart pumping with the thrill of speed, log on now to SpeedTV.com. The keyword is Acura, and take your turn in the driver's seat with Speed Onboard Pass presented by Acura. On board with Scott Sharp right now, currently sitting 4th overall, 2nd in the P2 category as he comes up through turn number 10. And let's take a look at our Michelin tire summary, a look at who's running what tires in the field. And Michelin right now is 20 of the entrants, Dunlop 5, and Dunlop is coming along. But one of the things that's nice to see is a couple of new entries as well, as they've determined this is a place to really do some R&D and develop some tires that eventually get to your cars.
Absolutely. They really try and utilize everything they learn on the racetrack and transition that over into the street tires, of course. But Michelin really have a stranglehold on this series in terms of the teams, and certainly very dominating over the years. And Michelin's out front. There you see some Michelin cars battling, though. The 7 cars caught up to the 1 car. This is a different class, of course. The P1 Audi, and that yellow machine is the P2 leading car, Romain Dumas. What a run they've had over the last couple of years, Greg.
Unbelievable. As a matter of fact, if you go back to Mid-Ohio in 2006, they started a streak which has now been 27 consecutive podium finishes in the P2 category. That's simply stunning. And you can see here where their one deficit is, as that Audi just drove away from them, but they get into the twisty bits, and those P2 cars and those Porsches come on. And is there anybody better than Dumas in terms of raw speed? I'm not sure.
That's right, and he qualified the car, Timo Bernhard behind the wheel, so sometimes catches us out when we're looking at qualifying for the practice over the course of the day, then they switch it up for the race start. So Timo Bernhard doing a tremendous job here at the front of the pack. There you see Dindo Capello carefully threading his way through underneath Bonilla. Now here comes Bernhard. And this is really a conundrum for him. He's thinking about that P2 championship. Does he want to fight with Dindo Capello here for overall position on the racetrack?
Now in GT2, action equally as intense and furious. I'm going to take a look at that for you. Some of these battles developing, and here we go. There is third in GT2. That is Pierre Kaffer. Right behind him now is Wolf Hensler, who has reeled him in. And we heard Wolf concerned about a little bit of understeer, but he seems to have dealt with it, Cal.
He has, and we just got radio communication from the Farnbacher Lowe's team to maybe ask Kaffer, let him go. Remember, Porsche are very much involved in this championship. Both of these teams are work supported, and if the Flying Lizard teams have gone to the Porsche management and said, listen, this 87 car is holding up our attack on those Ferraris, maybe the word has gone down pit lane to let the 45 by.
Well, while this has been unfolding, the number 71 of Farnbacher, the Tafel Ferrari, has driven away a little bit by a matter of about 6 seconds or so from this battle. So obviously I would think that the Flying Lizards and Hensler and teammate Jörg Bergmeister are a little bit concerned and would like to get by and be able to see if they can take some of that back.
Absolutely. I think they're very surprised in some ways that the Ferrari has been developed so quickly in the middle of the season. I mean, the goalpost never stands still in this form of competition, whether it's prototypes or in GT2. And there Hensler really putting the pressure on Pierre Kaffer. Will he make a move here? Kaffer to the inside. Hensler should get a shot around the outside. This should be a pass. Hensler takes away third position in GT2.
And Kaffer certainly didn't make that horribly difficult, so obviously maybe begrudgingly somewhat, but working with Porsche in that one and letting Hensler go at this stage. And one of the things that we, earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday, a lot of testing, and the Ferrari camp really, as we talked about, a lot of new bits they were working on.
They really were, and they continue to develop that Ferrari. And for this team, the 87 machine, coming off that dramatic win at Road America, that last lap battle with the 62 machine, with Dirk Werner coming out on top with Richard Westbrook. Great result for that team, but both these drivers here, both Kaffer and Werner, have never been to this racetrack, and the team has never competed in this series here at Mosport. They have experience in Speed World Challenge, but they don't have the setup, so very good qualifying result, being second on the grid.
And for Hensler, if he was getting understeer being behind Kaffer, now worries about chewing up those front tires. Now he's got clear track and just set sail. Meanwhile, we hop on board now with Scott Sharp in the Tequila Patron Acura number 9, and he has dropped back one spot now, sits 5th overall, 3rd in the P2 ranks. The reason? Flying James Rossiter in that XM Satellite Acura number 26 has gone by.
He has. Meanwhile, Timo Bernhard is up front in that Penske Porsche, but James Rossiter has really impressed the Andretti Green Racing team. He's been confirmed for Detroit next week. He was just on for 2 races initially. Very impressed with this young man. He has some commitments over in Japan, so Honda and Acura may need to clear his slate for him to see out the season, but Michael Andretti and the AGR board really feel that they need consistency in their lineup. Here comes the 15 machine. Diaz looking away by Sharp.
Sharp got held up just a little bit. Diaz wanted to pounce, but that door closed, and then he had to breathe out of it. And you see how much of a momentum issue it still is here. He used that little bit of momentum, and he lost 5 car lengths just that quickly.
I spoke to Duncan Dayton, team principal for Highcroft, Scott Sharp's manager and team owner, of course, and he said on the traffic lap, you can lose 5 to 6 seconds. It's very frustrating for the drivers, but they have to think big picture. This team is still looking for the lead in that championship.
There is Sharp, and we see just in front of him Rossiter. Now look at that Mazda in front of Rossiter. Finally, he just moves over. Rossiter's going to try and come through, but then you get the pick of that lap traffic, but he let him through. But that Mazda, particularly in a straight line, has some legs, Cal.
It really does. They had a tremendous result here last year with Jamie Bach and Ben Devlin doing the driving last year, and had a really their breakout race. I mean, just great performance right in the thick of things, and put a smile on everyone's face, but they don't seem to have the pace here. Here comes the 15 machine. Diaz down the inside, taking advantage of traffic.
Once again, getting caught in traffic. Diaz whistles through. Now he's going to have to deal with the Mazda up into turn number 2. He's inside of the Primetime Viper, but gets through.
You hear him come down a gear, then he had to lift again with the cars in front of him. This is very frustrating, but you have to be patient. This is where he needs to draw on his years of experience here. Scott Sharp behind the wheel.
And he comes by now and gets around, doesn't. No, look at the fight that is being put up right now by Gerardo Bonilla over Diaz.
That's Bonilla right in front of the green and white machine. And there you see Diaz now trying to find his way by Bonilla.
Now, from on board with Wolf Hensler. Boy, look at those 3 Acuras. Line astern right now, finally able to make the move and get by that very quick Mazda and sneak through on board with Sharp.
Big news for that BP team is that they're going to run the new Lola Coupe at Petit Le Mans, so they expect to get the car on track in a couple of weeks. Very exciting news from that team. And the problem is now, as the downforce, as you get a wash, that aero effect, you lose downforce when you're closely following these cars through these high-speed turns.
All right, we're going to hop on board and go back with a look here from the number 15 of Diaz as all of that started to unfold and dealing with the traffic and the class battles as well, Cal.
A look up ahead. There's Sharp immediately in front. There's a GT2 machine. Then right in front of them is Bonilla. That got really tight there. Sharpie jumped outside of that GT2 machine, nearly clobbered Diaz then. And then Bonilla's right in front of him. He tries to take advantage of him. Here's an outside look. Sharp tried to defend, but Diaz had the momentum.
Just that close, 3 abreast for a moment down that front straight, and not all that wide on that front straight. So tell you what, this crowd, and it is huge, is enjoying a good battle, and in P2 it is superb. But up front, Timo Bernhard continues to lead for Roger Penske, the DHL Global Mail Penske Porsche Spyder. Welcome back to Mosport, everybody. Want to remind you that next week on Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you can go ahead and check in on qualifying because it will be streamed live on speedtv.com. Qualifying from Detroit Belle Isle, and that's next Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live streaming on speedtv.com. So you can just tune in and enjoy the qualifying from Detroit. Race, of course, is Saturday, and it'll be right here on Speed.
These qualifying sessions now are simply sensational. I mean, there are so many prototype cars in the mix, and in GT2 as well. It really is something to behold.
There's battling going on right here now, and that is one of the field Lolas, the Intersport cars that can be very, very quick at times, and that is indeed John Field. And as I believe, is that Werner coming up now to see if he can put him a lap down here in the relative early going.
John Field was very fast earlier in the weekend, right within about half a second of the Audi pace. They had a chance to test her earlier in the week, which is a rarity for certainly the Audi team and John Field, but they've really got to grips with these Dunlops. He said they're a little bit too soft for here, and the heat and conditions we're dealing with this weekend, not ideal. About 20 laps, and they're starting to see some blistering issues, but there he lets the leader through. Good job by John there, recognizing that Marco Werner much faster and puts him down the lap.
And of course, watching all of the overall action, we've been focusing a bit on the P2 action, and this car, the Hycroft Patron Acura, has been right in the thick of it. And Brian Till, I believe you've got the team owner.
He's definitely in the thick of it, Duncan Dayton. This racetrack's challenging enough when you're out there on your own, but these GT cars seem to really be making it difficult. What do you tell Scotty in the car to keep him calm? And what were you telling the boys down at Flying Lizard when you walked down there?
Well, we got blocked by their guys twice in one lap, 2 different cars. They're in their own battle, so it's difficult for them as well. And we just now got blocked a 3rd time with a car that's entering the pits. You know, they got to run their own race, but it's a little bit tough when you're trying to come through this. Basically, to keep Scott calm and all of us calm. You know, it's a long race. It's a give and take in traffic. What goes around comes around, and hopefully we'll get some breaks later on in the race.
looking for the brakes. And if anybody understands it, Duncan certainly does too. Remember, guys, a very accomplished race car driver. He's dealt with this traffic before.
He certainly has. In fact, he was on the driving squad just last year at Sebring, along with Stefan Johansson and David Bradley. Told me a great story this weekend. He actually owns a Lotus 79 that Mario Andretti won the World Championship with at the Monterey Classic last weekend. He had Mario drive that car. He said it was something else. He said, I watched Mario on the grid at Watkins Glen, was within a couple of feet of the car. Who would believe that this 20-odd years later that I now own the car and Mario's driving the car for me?
Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, I bet he was just ecstatic with that. You know, aside from being a great driver and a team owner, he's got a tremendous passion for motorsport and an understanding of the history and how special this is.
And he is very impressed with Scott Sharp. He said, remember, Scott Sharp does not have a lot of time in these high downforce prototype cars, but he said over the last 3 races, he has really come on strong. Talked to Rob Hill, the team manager, this week, and he said, we did a full run here in testing, full tank run, and he said at the end of the stint, he was 2 or 3 tenths quicker than Romain Dumas, who was on the car at the racetrack at the same time. So very impressed with the job that he's talking about.
And behind him is the number 6. That is the team DHL Penske Porsche Spyder in the hands of American Pat Long right now as we hop on board with him, running 7th overall, 5th in the P1 category. And Pat Long has had some tremendous runs as well this year. They just seem to have been just a little bit off the pace of the 7 car this whole weekend.
They do. They don't seem to have the pace that they've seen in previous rounds, but you know, you've got to be patient. It only takes a little turn of something on the shock absorber and suddenly the pace is there. You multiply a little change, a little improvement in one corner, multiply that by 10, and suddenly you can pick up half a second. So you have to keep working at it, and that's the one thing that Sasha Masson says to Pat Long. You have to be patient. Look at the difference in speeds there. They're coming through those high-speed turns. That's what we're talking about. The prototype downforce versus the mechanical grip that the GT2 cars rely on.
And just that little bit of indecision there as you're watching, you didn't know, was that GT2 Porsche going to swing left, leave the inside open, or was he going to stay tight? And he had to breathe it because he had to make a choice.
Well, you have to make a choice. And think about the end of Elkhart Lake where Frank Montani made that decision to dive down into Canada corner and the 007 didn't see him. That cost them the race. So if you sort of like zig when the other person zags, suddenly your race is over. So it's 2 hours, 45 minutes. It is mental exhaustion out there.
And Pat Long, of course, is the only U.S. American factory Porsche driver. Coming from GT2, he got the opportunity to run in this car in a prototype. And fortunately for him, he had a very special mentor to help him out.
Sasha fits the role of what I would expect in a teammate. He's a team player. He's very quick. But what he represents that maybe some guys I've driven with don't is he's a mentor. He brings a lot of experience to the table, both on and off the racetrack, and that's really a great guide for me. Working with the team, both from Porsche and Penske, is something Sasha has more experience than I do, and he really, really helps guide me in those things.
Sasha Masson, of course, pretty special guy. I see him right there, very glued to the pit wall, and one of the guys who truly helped develop this car. I mean, nobody knows him better.
Yeah, he and Lucas Luhr, of course, debuted the car at the Laguna Seca final round back in 2005, and immediately were on the pace, really took this class by storm. And then, of course, over the last couple of seasons, they've felt the assault from the Acura boys, but still, the Penske boys remain on top, leading the championship with Timo Bernhard and Romain Dumas.
And as I said, Long and, of course, with Masson have had some brilliant races earlier in the year. I mean, Long's performance in the opening stint at Long Beach was the first of a few and was absolutely brilliant.
And Lime Rock, of course, both those races he started the car and brought the car in the lead. Back on board now with a 66 machine. These guys have struggled here a little bit. Simon Pagenaud, not quite as quick as we've seen in the earlier rounds that they've competed in. And talked to Will Phillips this morning, their engineer. He said, we're on kind of a medium downforce setup. We're gradually inching up on the pace, but as always, the race weekend seems to get away from you. And come race time, they still don't seem to have the pace of the front-running Acura cars this weekend.
Their debut at Salt Lake City was pretty spectacular. You know, I mean, obviously, the potential with this team is unbelievable, isn't it?
It is, and look at the speeds down there. 165 miles an hour down through turn 4, flat out.
Well, I spoke with that team earlier this weekend, and what it sounds like is when that team was was developed, the idea was that they would be sharing data amongst the Acura teams. They've been sharing and haven't been getting any back, so it's getting a little bit frustrating for them. They had a rough weekend last weekend at Road America, hoping for a better run today, but things are not going in their favor so far.
Yeah, that would be a little frustrating. You're giving away some of your speed secrets and not getting any back. At that point, maybe you tend to close the door just a little bit. But as I said, tremendous potential from these guys. Here are your 4 class leaders. Marco Werner continues to lead overall here at Mosport as we are still in the relative early going here. And tell you what, doesn't matter where you look at this place, people are enjoying it. Why not? It's Mosport. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Audi. The truth is out, it's powerful, and it's available at your Audi dealer now. Audi, truth in engineering. By Mobil 1. For almost any extreme, choose Mobil 1, the world's leading synthetic motor oil. And by Mahindra Tractors. Welcome back, everybody, and you have just watched it perhaps in the background there. We have had one of our GT2 Porsches, the number 18 Hughes Telematics and Wempe entry from VC Racing in turn 2. When it goes there, it goes big, and this certainly it was, Cal.
Oh, you see the right rear corner completely destroyed, so caution period. Now, this is going to have a big factor on strategy. Of course, our main concern is Mark Bassing, who's behind the wheel of that number 18 machine. But for all of the teams now, they're going to have to change things up a little bit. Massive impact there. Very high-speed racetrack, as we've discussed many times, and there's not a lot of runoff room when it goes wrong.
And I don't know if he was helped or whether he just lost it on his own. Let's see if we can find out here. We'll take another look at it. There was some prototype traffic right with him. It was race leader Marco Werner. Watch it here, Cal.
Here we come. We talked about the closing speed in turn 2. This is what happened the other day, but no, Bassing's wheel takes off. Suspension or the wheel left the race car there. Marco Werner was not an instigator in that moment. There you see him, close for the leader of the race, but look at the ride that Mark Bassing takes. All the way down in the tire wall, the right rear on entry to turn 2. That corner's hairy enough without having that happen to you. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and Werner was very lucky in a way. Let's take a look from up high. Watch for that right rear corner as they head down into turn 2. Watch it. You can see right there, it snaps.
He had last pitted. He's one of the few cars that have pitted here today on lap 21. So several laps on that car after that pit stop.
Those guys had just brought the Porsche into pit lane for a tire change. Looks like they might not have gotten all of the nuts and bolts in place.
Well, that's such an important part of any stop is, you know, you've got to get the entire thing done and done complete. There's the best news. Mark Bassing is out. Very experienced driver in endurance racing in Porsches, and just had one, you know, sometimes it's mechanical.
He's done a lot of development work with these Porsche race cars, but I'm sure he's not experienced that too many times. He's got a smile on his face. Anytime you survive a crash in turn 2, you are happy, but major, major damage to this car. And of course, we're hoping to see these guys at Detroit just 1 week away, so it's going to be a lot of work for that team to make that race.
He knows something about daunting tracks. He may be the most experienced driver racing right now around the old Nordschleife, the Nürburgring in Germany, and you talk daunting, that's what it is. Now, you talked about the strategy scenario here. The Audi guys were saying we need a lot of green to build up margin so we can stop. Everybody needed a yellow, they thought, to maybe be able to make it on 2 stops, so it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other. But this looks like, in terms of timing, did it hurt the Audis? Did it help them?
Well, they needed a little bit of yellow to not need a splash. Ideally, you want to do it on 2 stops, but with the fuel mileage they were getting, as well as the Acuras, both those groups of cars felt they needed a little bit of yellow. But with the timing of this, it really erases all of the margin that they'd built up. And there's a little bit of a difference in getting the fuel into the tank on a full fill here, because the Audi has the diesel, which is a little bit stickier to get into the tank. So Marco Werner pit stop should be a little bit slower in terms of the fuel fill than the P2 machine. So it really depends how many cars were between the leader here and the rest of the pack when they hit their pit stop, as to see if Werner is superseded here in pit stops.
And the car stops right in front of Brian Till.
Audi's 1-2 onto pit lane, and I look back, Romain Dumas not far behind, but you called it, Calvin. It's going to take a little longer on this stop. because of, one, the viscosity of the fuel going in, two, this is a larger tank, and B, before they used to have their fuel rig just a little bit higher, and that allowed the fuel to flow a little bit quicker. Now the rig is back down a little bit, and they get a little larger tank, but all of that means a longer flow. As you look a little further back down pit lane, Dumas changing drivers there, and let's head down pit lane to Jamie.
Andretti Green has also brought the car into pit lane for a tire change and driver change. Frank Montagny now behind the wheel of the car. We said it earlier, they were in that incident with the GT2 car. Front dive plane is gone on the left-hand side. The team pulled it off of their spare. They were going to attempt to put it on if it was under caution, but they're not sure it can be refastened, so not even going to try it. Frank Montagny, a little bit of traffic trying to...
Oh, there he goes, exiting, and obviously with some aggression, gets around Brabham, who has taken over. And that's one of the keys too, Cal. We're past that 45-minute mark, which means driver changes can happen.
It can, but there was a race off pit road. Remember, we talked about the fuel fill time on the Penske Porsches versus the Audis, and there you see Romain Dumas, who is now behind the wheel. Oh, Werner got it all wrong getting out of his pit box. They got the stop completed, but Werner makes a mistake there, getting out of pit lane, allows Dumas to get around him. So that was a gift, in fact. So the crews did their job. Marco Werner had some kind of issue there, trying to get back on track. So it is now Dumas. We said he's been behind the wheel earlier today, but Dumas is now getting some time. There's the front. That's the splitter there, which is now hitting the ground at very low speed. I wonder if that's going to be an issue when he starts to see the downforce of these cars.
We see the damage on Marco's car. It's a broken splitter. He's probably going to have to stop. In fact, he will have to stop to change the splitter. Just stay cool, please.
That's Ron Mathers talking to Dindo Capello, saying that the car in front of you, your teammate, Marco Werner, will need to make a pit stop and replace that nose and splitter. So that was a costly mistake for Marco Werner if the team have decided that that has to be changed.
When Marco is shaking his fist at Dumas coming out of Moss, going, why are you doing that so slowly? And they've got it going. There is the new nose that will be going on that car. And you wonder what the problem was that caused that, or was it just, what is 850 Newton-pounds of torque that was the problem coming out?
But with the experience that he has, you know, that is a mistake that you typically do not make. Here is Lucas Luhr over the pit wall trying to take a look.
Guys, part of the problem is if you're in this last pit stall where the number 2 was, Marco Werner, when you leave, it is sharply downhill, and it's not a straight out of your pit box. You actually have to maneuver around the penalty box sign there as you head back onto pit lane. It's a pretty sharp turn to the left, and it's somewhat off camber and downhill. So I think with cold tires, just got out there. His tires had cooled a little bit, a full load of fuel. He's in a hurry to get out there, going downhill. He's got to turn the car to the right. It just all adds up to a big problem for Marco Werner.
Take one more look at it, Cal, and watch it right here.
There you see it, the cars drop down about the same time. Dumas gets out before Dindo Capello. We're looking at Marco Werner there. You see the penalty box over to your left side, and he's completely sideways and just can't correct it. When he gets off the gas, the car just understeers straight into the wall and has damaged that front splitter.
Then we saw Brad Kettler and driver Lucas Luhr looking that car over, trying to determine, do we need to stop? We'll find out when we come back to Mosport. Thursday nights get wrecked on Speed. Ride shotgun with the crew who cleans up the ugly mess left behind by Chicago motorists. No job is too tough for O'Hare Towing. Wrecked, Life in the Crash Lane. New episodes begin August 28th, 10 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Speed. And the cleanup down in turn 2 is going apace, although it looks like they may have a little bit of a problem. Obviously, when you have wheels off those cars, it's a little tough to get that car up onto the tilt bed. Meanwhile, got an update on the number 2 Audi, Brian.
Greg, I checked in with Brad Kettler, asking would they come to pit lane to change the nose. Those Audis, so just like all the prototypes, so aerodynamic dependent. But he said the car was a little pointy anyway. This may actually take some downforce off the front and may actually make the car a little bit more neutral. So they're going to leave him out. They're going to try it.
Yeah, I spoke to Marco after the morning warm-up. They went to a slightly lower rear downforce setting. He said the car's a little bit loose. We hope the tires go away on the front end and balance the car out. So that's a good point, Brian. It may help him out here.
Well, it seemed to me when Kettler and Luhr were at the wall, when he went by, that Luhr kind of was shaking his head like, no, I don't think we necessarily need to do that. So obviously they have made their decision. But while we have a moment, one of the things we very much enjoy here in the broadcast of the American Le Mans Series is our Cub Reporter segments. And this one is from Jörg Bergmeister, who's sort of combined a family tree and a quiz show.
Hi, I'm Jörg Bergmeister. I'm your Cup reporter today, and we have some childhood photos we're going to quiz the drivers about. Who's that? It's the driver.
Is it you?
Hey, 100 points there. The next one now?
Brabham.
Hey, you're good. Scary good.
Well, it is an American. He's trying to play baseball. I don't know. I have no idea. Scott Sharp, maybe?
Nobody got that one yet.
Jim Tafel couldn't play baseball.
Hey, you're right. It's Jim Tafel.
And who is this?
Yeah, who's that?
That is you.
Correct. Hey, oh.
This one is, by the way he's crying, I'd say it's Johnny O'Connell. Oh, no, only joking.
This driver? That would be Lucas Luhr.
Was blonde hair?
Yeah, he was a towhead as a baby.
So who was yelling at you? Is that normal that people are yelling at you?
It was Dusty Baker yelling at me. I was not a very good boy.
And you're still a crybaby like that?
I am. I go through that's what happens when those P2 cars go around me.
Ollie, stop. You have to take a childhood photo quiz.
Big question mark here. I have no idea. Maybe I will say the Jim.
Which one?
Tafel?
Wow, I'm impressed.
You?
Oh, he's getting good here, correct? Good. And the last one. Let's see if you get that one right. You're the only one who gets it right.
A lot more here. David.
Hey, congratulations, man. You're the first one to get all of them right.
Dirk Müller.
You're kidding me.
Huh?
You're kidding me up.
I don't know.
No, that's me.
That's you?
Yeah.
Wow, you look much better at that age.
It looks like he's got hair, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
I mean, is that cute or not? I mean,
yeah, that is pretty cute.
Is that you?
Correct. Not bad. Hey, you got it right.
Yeah.
All right,
you're
good
pretty
job.
Cute too.
Oh, thanks.
What happened?
I don't know. Same thing that
we got
happened to you, right?
And there's Jörg Bergmeister getting ready to go behind the wheel of the car. And if that doesn't give you some fodder for the From the Fans and Most Popular Driver Awards, well, fan balloting for those awards starts. And, well, let's hold off on that and take a look here. Here are the 4 class leaders as we are under caution, and it's a P2 leader that now leads overall. Fan balloting for the annual From the Fans and Most Popular Driver Award starts on September 1st, just after the Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix weekend. Check out AmericanLeMans.com for information and to cast your vote. And there's a lot of fans here that have been watching some interesting developments that could make that happen. And speaking of developments, in terms of the pit stops that we've had, not just some changes up front in the prototype ranks overall and in P2, but also back in the GT2 category, a big one.
There really was. I mean, remember, the 62 machine had really been dominating this event, but look at this. The 45 Flying Lizard team did a superb job on that pit stop. Now it's Jörg Bergmeister behind the wheel. Mika Salo, frustration continues. Remember, Road America so close to their first victory of the year here in the American Le Mans Series, and had that taken away from them. But Mika Salo's got some work to do here this afternoon, but he's very impressed with the balance of the race car all week long, so expect him to put the pressure on Jörg here shortly.
We are anticipating a start this time by working into turn number 8. Lights out of the pace car. It is Romain Dumas leading overall now in the P2 category, number 7 Porsche Spider. But Werner Capello right there. Watch the power here. Dumas that time a restart, timed it beautifully, Cal. Got on the throttle right and was not jumped by the torque of those Audis.
He was, and what he'll try and do is to use his speed around this first half lap to try and stretch the gap to the Audis before he gets to that back straightaway.
And look at this, Montagny putting the pressure on the 15 of Diaz. This is for 2nd in P2, 4th overall, riding with Montagny.
He has been so impressive this year. Very fast driver, and he's going to put the heat on Luis Diaz here immediately.
Before this caution period, Franck Montagny was actually ahead of Luis Diaz. Very tight here in pit lane. Luis's crew got him out back onto the track faster. Pit marshal held Franck Montagny in pit lane, and that's how Luis got the lead.
Well, pit stop's so crucial. Sometimes it's the driver change, sometimes it's just the execution, and sometimes it's just luck with the pit marshaling as well. And right now, Montagny, the one thing this guy can do amongst many things is give chase.
He certainly can. So Diaz doing a double stint here. Montagny in for his first stint of the day. And now we do have David Brabham behind the wheel of the number 9 machine. Sorry to the folks at home on the confusion at the start.
And it is Maassen behind him as we hop on board with Brabs down through turn 1.
David really on his game this year. In qualifying, this corner is flat out. It is, the pictures really don't do justice to how daunting that corner is. Slowing down here for turn 3, and it's hard on the power all the way down to Moss corner, coming through 4. This is where we had the patch breakup in practice, right there. There it is.
So far, so good. And one of the things that might help that out, I would think a little bit, Cal, is the fact that we're 5 to 6 degrees cooler today, centigrade, which is even more Fahrenheit. So, and that's going to help.
That's going to be a good point, because early in the week, the teams tested for a couple of days, no problems with those patches. Then we saw extreme heat here on Friday and Saturday. That's when the track started to break up.
It's the number 12, the Jean Richard Redline Oil Autocon creation. It's Tony Burgess behind the wheel right now. A lot of experience here at Mosport, but things not going well for them at this point in the P1 category.
Chris McMurray did a great save on that car in practice earlier this weekend. The left front took off. He was going through turn 1.
Boy, just the speed of these cars down through turn 2. And one of the things, all these corners we talk about the immense speed. Oh, look at this. We've got the 62. Salo has gone around the 45 of Jörg Bergmeister and picked up the lead in the GT2 category. There he goes.
That didn't take long.
No.
Mika Salo, they had that brilliant victory at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But over here, they can't seem to catch a break, but maybe they caught one today. Let's take a look at the replay of the situation in traffic. On board here with the 45 machine, he gets pulled by the 12 machine. Let's look for Salo. There he is. Skate to the outside on the power earlier. Takes the lead in GT2.
Oh, man, just beautiful move to the outside. Read it perfectly.
He really did. Here we see it once again. You see Bergmeister really having to take a severe avoidance there to not clip the rear end of that prototype machine that is not up to speed. Mika Salo jumped on it.
And we saw it at the beginning when this car was out front. When it got a clear track, it was quickly able to open up a fairly substantial margin, and looks like he's able to draw away again. And the report on the number 12, by the way, is a wheel bearing issue. And you don't want to mess with those here at Mosport at this point. So as Salo now has found his way to the front quickly into the G2 category lead once again, we're going to go back to the P2 battle that is extremely good. And one of the things I was going to say as we were watching all of these corners that are so key, Calvin, 1, 2, 4, 8, the speeds here, I think it was a great description by Dirk Mueller made the comment about, he goes, yeah, the problem is all of those runoff areas are hungry. It's one of those types of tracks, isn't it?
Well, we saw it with Bassing, we saw it with Gavin in practice. It will really eat you up in a heartbeat.
And the fastest lap in GT2, you just saw by Dirk Mueller, who didn't waste any time when he got in the Tafel car. Meanwhile, as we watch David Brabham now behind the wheel of the Highcroft Patron Acura, the driver who did the opening stint is with Brian.
Scott Sharp turned in a great first segment there in the Patron car. And Scott, for you, I know Trans Am experience at this racetrack, these prototypes, a different animal, but I think the traffic too is something that is new for you. How do you keep your cool when you're out there, and how difficult is it to time these GT passes?
Well, you got to keep your cool, but a few times I was about to lose it. You know, some races you have those where traffic just goes your way. Unfortunately, this wasn't one of them. It seemed like the guys I was racing with, whether it was the 7 car or 26 car, you know, one side, they get break, and then I get stuck in in a corner with them, or stuck in a pack. So you just got to keep biding your time and hope that it'll come back. And I guess I was starting to make gains back on them before the yellow. But everyone on the Patron team's doing a great job. You know, I think we're really we have a strong car towards the end of the run. But you're right, you know, this is a dying breed of a racetrack, and it's great to be able to come back here, but to come back here in our Acura, wow. I mean, just unbelievable speed you can carry.
And you're showing everybody that you're a very fast race car driver, but this is different racing for you. 2 drivers in different classes out there. How difficult has it been from just being the single driver on the team, attacking all the time, to kind of a more fluid type deal where you got to share cars with another guy and you got to deal with other classes?
Well, I think I'm really lucky, and we're with a great team, and David's just a great co-driver, so it's really worked out well. Helped smoothen the whole transition. It's tough, though. It's strange sitting in the pits watching your car go by, but I'm getting used to it.
He's getting used to it, and guys, he's certainly been doing a good job behind the wheel, very quick, and this team has shown that they're the ones that go into races for Acura.
Well, you know, after his Trans Am career where he won 2 championships, he won championships in the IRL, but those cars don't have near the downforce of these cars, so that was something a bit different as well.
It certainly is, and here we see Fran Martini has made the move around Luis Diaz. He's now taken over second in class. So total commitment on the outside of the upcoming corner, having 1 lap ago, as you can see on the split screen. Montani takes that position away.
Well, here are your 4 class leaders, and you can see Werner is up front, but we were talking about open wheel racing. Well, there was some great open wheel racing here earlier in the weekend at Mosport. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Mobil 1. For almost any extreme, choose Mobil 1, the world's leading synthetic motor oil. And by Audi. The truth is out, it's powerful, and it's available at your Audi dealer now. Audi, truth in engineering. And that truth in engineering generates raw speed, and right now we have a new overall leader in Marco Werner and a new second place in his erstwhile teammate Dindo Capello in the #1 Audi, and they have leapfrogged to the front, and apparently for Marco Werner not showing a whole lot of issues with that little bit of damage from that bump with the wall. But Calvin, we want to go back and take a look and see how this happened, because it was Romain Dumas who was leading.
Well, again, Dumas got the jump out of pit lane and had the early lead here after the caution period, but down this long Mario Andretti straightaway, he's just a sitting duck for the speed of that diesel down that long stretch. Marco Werner takes it to the front. 1 lap later, here's Dindo Capello, and the #1 machine does exactly the same thing. Nothing that Dumas can do. So he did a tremendous job with the restart and created the gap. Then a little bit of traffic got in his way, and then those Audis were close enough to take advantage where they have their strength.
Well, and it's particularly tough, obviously, you know, when they're at a track we're on a flying lap clear of traffic. The Porsches or the Acuras can be faster, but here the Audis had the pace in qualifying as well. Then you put their strength in traffic into the equation. It's a whole different deal.
It really is, and now we see Marco Werner right in the middle of that GT2 battle. So this is tough going. You have to be patient. Scott Sharp talked about it. He just seemed to be half a step out of rhythm with all of the traffic here today. We saw that you just have to time it. You need to breathe it off when you get that little gap, and then accelerate off the corner and make the move down into the next turn.
That GT2 battle, they just came steaming through as the 71 Bell Micro Tafel Ferrari of Dirk Mueller and the 46 Flying Lizard of Porsche of Patrick Pellet, and woke them both up certainly, and going to take a little bit more of a look at the goings on in GT2, and really right now it is 62. That Ferrari now in the hands of the Formula 1 driver Mika Salo is drawing away rather smartly, but the guy who put it on pole and drove an opening stint is down in the pit, so it's Jamie with Jamie.
And Jamie Malo has a big smile on his face. Jamie, you told me before the race you thought you had the right setup for today. How was the car?
Yeah, I mean, the car is going really well. I did a very good start, and I got a very good gap between me and the second place just after the yellow. And actually, we lost the first position on the pit stop, but just after that, Mika got the first position again. So I'm really happy. The car is going really well, so hopefully we can finish it like this.
Do you know what happened in the pit stop to make you guys go back?
I don't know. I don't know.
They nearly lost the third position as well, with number 18 car nearly beat him out too, guys.
Well, Mika Salo now behind the wheel, and spoke to Mika earlier in the weekend. He said, I'm not sure if I'm going to be back next year. I said, back with Reese? He said, no, I'm not sure I'm going to continue driving. He said the schedule this year has just been too much. He said an option may be to do just the long distance races as the third driver. So it'd be a real shame to lose Mika Salo from this series completely.
By the way, here is third in GT2, and it is a real battle. The 87 in the hands of Dirk Werner and the 71 Ferrari in the hands of Dirk Mueller. And the two Dirks are going at it big time down into turn 8. And tell you what, that number 87 car, the win they put together 2 weeks ago at Road America was absolutely superb.
Well, Greg, that battle is not only for position on the racetrack, but that battle very important to the guys at Flying Lizard as well, because right now, the 87 of Dirk Werner holding that Ferrari back, and that's going to give Bergmeister and Hensler, if they were to finish this way, and I know we got a long way to go, gives them a little more cushion in the championship. So right now, they need to really lean on their Porsche brethren, Dirk Werner, keep that Ferrari back there where it is right now.
And they're getting a little help from the P2 Ferrari as well. A bit of lockup there.
Montani's caught the 7 machine. That is a battle for position between the yellow machine. Now we're on board with Frank Montani. Came so close to victory at Road America. Now he has Dumas in his sights. He's going to hassle him.
He and Dumas have been running the 2 quickest laps in this last couple of laps on track. Now, of course, they're into some traffic. But boy, Montaigne is all over the back of Dumas. Here's the launch down the Mario Andretti straightaway. This will be an interesting comparison here.
Well, let's take a look here. It looks like Montaigne has a little bit more speed. New DFI Porsche engine, they say gives them about 25 more horsepower. They've been using it for about 3 races now. Dumas just holds him off. Sometimes it's all down to the downforce settings that you're running. Dumas very quick there through 8 and 9. Traffic ahead. Montaigne, can he time it and get off this last turn? No, he can't. Dumas did a good job there, spacing the traffic.
It's pretty obvious that the folks at HPD, Honda Performance Development, have come up with some good engine bits for the Acuras as well. You look at what they did in qualifying at Road America, and certainly on the pace here. And as he was able to reel in a little bit of the Porsche, obviously, as you said, aero plays a role too, but it's pretty darn close at this point, it seems, between those two. Got a little bit of technical difficulties with the feed. We want to let you know that we are aware of it and it is being worked on as quickly as we can. So we're on it. We got a great crew who's going to be working on it.
And the pace of development in this P2 category is just remarkable. It seems like every week the engineers are just coming in with armfuls of new aero tricks to try, and I believe there's a new engine spec available to Acura, possibly for Detroit next week. Street circuit, you need a slightly different engine characteristic. That is a very important race to everyone.
Well, Calvin, you're right. They've been all over it. I just checked in with the guys down at Penske. They said there's nothing wrong with the 7 car right now, that Dumas has the car that he needs to run with. But when you talk about development, the big thing that we saw at Road America, yeah, further developments on the Acura, but their aero package got better and better, and what they were able to do was start to get downforce and still trim the car out. The car was a little bit better balanced and still had good straight line speed. I think that's what we're seeing here today. This racetrack demands that you have some good downforce, but you have the straight line speed as well, and that's what we're seeing with the Acura teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly very close, and Montaigne is able to close in. We got a report on the radio that Dumas was saying the car was a little oversteery, and that may be why it's been slowing him up just a little bit, but still running 3rd overall, leading P2. Marco Werner leads overall. Magnussen in GT1, and Mello in the number 62 at this point as well. Oh, and some interested observers right there on pit lane. Don't miss 2 big nights of hard-charging, heart-pounding grassroots drag racing on Speed. Catch the party with Pink's All Outtakes Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern, then join the race with Pink's All Out Thursday night at 9 Eastern. 2 nights, but only 1 place, Speed. And we are in the middle of a great battle right now in the P2 ranks, working with some traffic, as always, in the American Le Mans Series competition. You ride on board with Luis Diaz in the Lowe's Acura, who has really been having a very strong season in terms of speed without luck, and having a very strong race here.
He is. He's just got dropped to 4th position. David Brabham just gave everyone a lesson in how to deal with traffic. Superb run by Brabs, now up to 3rd in class. Let's take a look at what happened as Luis Diaz started to encounter some traffic going through those last couple of turns. He tried to make a move on the 30 car a little bit earlier, didn't get the job done, and Brabs just pounces. Watch this. Boom. Job sorted. What David does, he just controls his whole area. When he's in a traffic situation, he controls the car behind as well. And here you see him making the move down into turn 1.
Well, he seems to have just a tremendous ability as we hop on board, watch this pass right there. Brabs goes through to judge the traffic and know what it is he's coming up on and where he may need to breathe it to get the run at the exit, whatever he needs to do. He's got it dialed.
He does. He just times it perfectly, uses all of his experience. Remember, he has a pole in all 4 classes. He's won in all 4 classes. So Brian talked about Dumar and Bernard having run GT2 and knowing the traffic. David has experience in all of these different classes here in the American Le Mans Series.
That truly pays huge dividends, and they've had the season to prove it.
They certainly have. I mean, what a platform that Duncan Dayton has established there at Highcroft. Really have been the leading light for the Acura brigade here in the P2 category. Just a superb job led by Rob Hill. What a call those guys made at Road America. They had a bad break in terms of when that yellow came out, and they couldn't get the driver change done, but they worked it to perfection and ultimately took the P2 victory.
That pass put Brabs into 3rd in P2, 5th overall. Montagny runs 2nd in the P2 category, 4th overall, and then Dumas at this point. And we've been talking a little bit about the number 8, the Ben Devlin now driving the BP Castrol. That's the Mazda Lola combination. And they were really looking forward to coming to Mosport. Had a tremendously solid run here last year. But the big news is what we are going to see from them at Petit.
That's right, that Lola Coupe that was run by Aston Martin, the ProDrive group at Le Mans. They're going to have a similar chassis to that on the grid at Petit. They hope to test, do a shakedown run with the car in a couple of weeks and get to Petit a little bit early, get some testing done earlier in the week. And they really seem to be going from strength to strength. Made the switch over to the Dunlop tires. They said they were experiencing a little bit of understeer here on the concrete patches, namely in turns 3, 5, and 10, creating a little bit of an imbalance in the race car. But young Ben Devlin and his teammate Gerardo Bonilla doing a tremendous job this year. They don't have all of the resources of some of the bigger teams, but they're doing a great job.
They have indeed, and that's going to be very exciting when that happens, certainly. And we've got some very exciting racing going on in the P2 category and throughout the field here at the Grand Prix of Mosport. Your 4 class leaders, and it's an Audi out front. Welcome back to Mosport. Both of our overall leaders, 1, 2, are in. The 2 Audis taking advantage of a full course caution. The pits just opened. This all happened very suddenly, and both of them doing driver changes. Brian.
Lucas Luhr climbing in the number 2, and as he sits here on pit road, I look at the left front and the splitter over here. Definitely about an inch or so removed from the outside, but the splitter is so thick. The splitter is so thick, it seems to be intact enough, and those all-important dive planes are intact. Lucas Luhr down and away, right behind him, the number 1 car heads out, Pirro on track, and a little further down pit road, the number 6 Penske Porsche on pit road as well, and they're looking underneath the front end of that car like it has some type of splitter issue.
Well, they may be splitting the strategy there with the Penske boys, but a very tight maneuver there for the number 1 machine. The wheel changer on the left rear, I think, on the 2 car was in a bit of a quandary there to get out of the way, and then the hose nearly got caught on the rear wing. So a good break there for the number 1 machine that they didn't get wrapped up in there.
And this is the area where the incident unfolded. It's the number 30. That is the 2nd of the Intersport AER Lolas, and it's John Faulkner who is getting out of the car. And that is big news right there, because it was a hit.
It was. Look at the front end. You can see both front wheels there. That front end is completely torn off the car. And at one point we thought that maybe John's legs were exposed. So the fact that he's getting away, this was a huge wreck.
Let's take a look at it from on board the number 6 car.
Drops a wheel there. Boom. Drops a wheel on the exit of 1. Just ricochets straight over to the right side. That is a massive hit. About 140 miles an hour there through the exit. Look, gets wide, then picks up grip with the right side tires and smashes into the wall and destroys the front end of that Lola.
And gets off to the right on the grass as it goes downhill, and that's not going to scrub a lot of speed. And
you see the debris flying, but fingers crossed that John is okay. Great to see him walking away.
Absolutely, and while we're under this caution and they're affecting this cleanup, let's get back down to Brian.
Well, guys, we talked about the 6 car being on pit road and being up on jacks. The reason was this is part of John's field car. You were talking about debris on the track, Calvin. Look at the size of this piece of debris that came off of that number 37, wedged up underneath the number 6. Sasha Maassen had to bring that Penske Porsche Spyder in to have this piece removed, dragging underneath the car and around this very high-speed racetrack. You can't have that.
You can't, but you know in Penske, they will work the strategy here. They would have topped him up with fuel, I suspect, Brian. And that will give both their cars a different strategy till the end of the race. Real time here. There's that piece of debris going underneath Sasha Maassen's car as he just rides out and looking over to his right. When you're another driver on the racetrack and you see a competitor have a crash like that, you certainly feel for the moment and understand what that driver's going through. That is a big, big shunt. To be concerned if there's any further damage underneath there. Pulling out the debris is one thing. Has it damaged the aerodynamics? Will Sasha Maassen have a strong performing car when we go back to green?
When we do, we are past an hour and a half complete. 13 minutes away from getting to an hour remaining. And this is one of those scenarios. Obviously, the best news is the fact that John was able to get out of the car under his own power and the like. But keep in mind that this caution will have a big impact on some strategy. We want to confirm that that piece of bodywork that got up underneath the 6 car was from the number 30 Intersport Lola of John Faulkner, and this incident right here, because the number 37 is in, and Clint Field behind the wheel.
Radio check.
10-4 radio check.
You hear the crew making sure the radios are working as Clint Field takes over.
Car down, tail off, tail off.
Big blow for this team. They'd started running the 2 cars back at Road America. Faulkner with that problem out there at the exit of turn 1. It looks like they've got a bit of a problem here. They're going to take the rear engine cover off and look back in the engine bay here. Smell a little bit of oil back here from the engine compartment, so they're going to definitely have to take their time and make sure that this power plant is as it should be. So right now, another costly stop. A lot of time on pit road here for this small team, but being a small team, you want to make sure that everything's right. It's expensive now if something's wrong. It gets a lot more expensive if you take it out on the track.
Had a few issues with the AER engines the last couple of weekends, so bit of a concern here for the team. Had a clutch issue earlier in the weekend that lost them a session, but great little team. These boys do not have the resources, do not have the staff, but they just maximize everything they've got. Father and son team, of course, joined by Richard Berry on occasion, so really impressed what they've been able to do this year.
Without a doubt, and the crowd here watching a great race today, but they've watched a lot of great racing here this weekend as well, as a lot of different classes have been putting on some superb shows racing throughout. It's a big, busy weekend here at Mosport, and one of the classes, as you look at the 4 class leaders in this race, was the IMSA Challenge, all Porsches. At the start of the 9th round of the IMSA Challenge by Michelin, pole sitter Dino Steiner used that inside position to lead away from Tony Rivera in the number 4 of Bob Faeda. Action in this spec series always very intense, and it certainly proved to be that. In fact, caught out a former Sebring winner, the number 57 of Martin Snow. Big spin, but he got away with it, didn't get into anything. A little bit later on, watch this move by Tony Rivera. Very aggressive, locking the inside front brake, but made it work, got through, got by Steiner and into the lead, and it opened the door for Bob Faeda to use the momentum a little bit later in the lap to sneak underneath and pick up the 2nd spot. Late in the going, Waylon Joe, a former SCCA national champion in GT2, got into the tires. It caused a full course caution. That's how the race finished, and Tony Rivera was not to be denied, taking the checkers under the yellow. We'll take a look at the results here, and this was the Saturday race that Rivera won with Faeda and Steiner, 1, 2, 3, then Kelly, and you can see Beeker and Melanie Snow having a great run to 6. Now, the next race was earlier today, and Faeda was able to take the win over Rivera with Patrick Kelly completing the podium. So we're going to take a quick break here at Mosport. The new video homepage of AmericaLeMans.com features content for the fans and from the fans. That's right, we want to hear from you. Log on today at AmericaLeMans.com to submit your video content. Gives you a bit of an idea of just how beautiful the setting is here for Mosport International Raceway. Just about an hour basically east and a bit north of Toronto, Ontario. Lake Ontario right south of the track. Just a beautiful setting and phenomenal track.
It really is. It's something to believe. If you've never been here as a spectator, I mean, it just takes your breath away. You cannot believe the cornering speed of cars like this number 9 Highcroft machine. And there we see Sasha Maassen. He's got to wonder what that car's going to perform like with the amount of debris that went underneath there, but I think he may be in good shape. We've got an hour 6 left, and he pitted about 5 minutes ago, and that new DFI Porsche engine, he may be able to stretch it to the end.
And the car that was very impressive here in the early going in P2 was the Lowe's Fernandez Acura, and Jamie is with the driver who was flying.
He was flying, and now he's lapping. Luis, he has a tremendous stint from you in this Lowe's Fernandez Acura. A lot of traffic out there and a lot of battling. How was it?
I mean, racing here is very hard. A lot of different type of classes, but I think that is what makes the American Le Mans so special. And it was very close racing out there. It was very fun for me. You know, the Lowe's Acura car was running pretty good, pretty strong. At the end, I had a little bit of problems with traffic, but you know, you have to be patient in this kind of racing and be there at the end. I know Adrian had a good car to be fighting there at the end.
With the Lowe's Fernandez team, there are a lot of developments coming in from Acura. Were there any big changes for this weekend, or are they all coming for Detroit?
No, I mean, we have a little bit of more improvements to make in Detroit for the car. We had some for El Lake, so hopefully we'll improve more.
And it looks like the Lowe's Fernandez team is trying to make another pit stop. The crew is getting set up for another one right before we go back to green. Luis had to go back, guys. All
right, we are coming up, Cal, on an hour and 5 minutes remaining. In just about 30 seconds or thereabouts. If they come in now, if it goes green,
that's going to be a stretch. Depends how quickly it goes green, but the team will be evaluating how long this yellow is going to take to clean up. And under caution, you save a lot of fuel. And of course, if you're the first person to pit and be able to make it to the checkered flag, that puts you in great shape because everyone's going to lose track position if they pit after you.
There's the 45, one of the Flying Lizard Porsches, and the one that came in third in class that basically is right in the hunt for the GT2 championship.
GT2, I spoke to the team this morning. They said about 65 minutes, which is exactly where they're at. So you can expect Jörg Bergmeister to not need more fuel today.
Getting this done right now could be huge. There is the team entry, the 46 of young Patrick Pellet, and taking a little bit longer on this stop. I don't know if there's some sort of an issue there. Brian?
Yeah, Greg, they cannot get it restarted. They put it in gear, rocked it back and forth, then put it back into neutral, but having a difficult time getting it started right now. Now the crew stepping back over the wall, and the officials motioning to the team leader as well. Now, this was 4th place in class. I should also mention Jörg Bergmeister had somewhat of a difficult time starting the 45 after the pit stop. So now the air jack's going back underneath this car, and they've got a problem. They're going to have to work on it. They cannot get it to fire, and I wonder if the starter motor may not be jammed.
Well, I tell you what, this car right here, the 45 car, Brian, I think this is a great strategy call because the Ferraris stayed out that are ahead of them, the 62 and the 71 machine. They will definitely need more fuel. So whenever they pit, they're going to lose track position to the 45 car. And it's so critical in this championship. It's nip and tuck right now, just 7 points separated, this 45 car to the 71 coming into the race today.
It seems, though, just from what we've seen so far in this race, in the Porsche-Ferrari comparison in this class, that the Porsches need to have some traffic between it and the Ferraris that are going to block the Ferrari on occasion and to be able to have it, because the Ferrari seems to have raw speed.
A lot of fuel strategy calls being made down here. The Highcroft team also set up. Now remember, you were talking about the DFI on that Porsche engine. It gets better mileage. Can they go the distance? That's going to be a long way to go, Calvin. Right now, the 9 car circulating around behind the pace car, trying to save fuel so that after this wave-by, he can come in and do his stop. But right now, the number 6 Penske Porsche Spyder down pit road to fill, and this should be the last stop for Sasha Maassen as well. They had a problem with a seatbelt on one of their earlier stops. Why Patrick Long was so animated, the seatbelt actually broke. Took about 10 seconds to get it back together and get it done. Now the 6 on pit road making a routine stop. It should be the last for Maassen.
Taking tires as well. When you run around under caution, the pickup issue is severe because the hot tires just pick up those little balls of rubber laying around the racetrack. So he's going to have fresh rubber. He had the worst track position in the leading P2 car, so this is a no-brainer for these guys.
Fresh tires. They're doing the wave by this time. They're doing the wave by now.
He's going to be in good shape.
And you also saw the 62 Ferrari made its stop. One would suspect it would be its last. And Jamie Mello back behind the wheel of that entry, so a driver change done as well. And we are just a couple of minutes away from an hour to go here at Mosport. Seconds under 1 hour remaining here in this 8th round of the American Le Mans Series in its 10th anniversary season. The lights are out on the pace car. There's a look at the field heading up into turn 8, but lots going on in the pits while we were away, Cal.
Well, the Audis had pitted earlier and pretty much done the full service. So
Okay,
just
good luck. We have 1 hour expecting that's in the race.
Just topping up with fuel. Great call by those guys. Full service on the 7 machine, fuel and tires. And they will definitely be good to go. Tiro needs to save fuel a little bit. Getting ready for green.
Here we go, and look at Montaigne. He had the 2 GT1 Corvettes splitting him in the rest, and he is gone. Now we think he yet has to stop. So margin, a gap is everything he needs. Here comes the number 1 of Lucas, excuse me, the number 2 of Lucas Luhr. Clears that traffic. So does Montaigne and Luhr. 1-2, Montaigne leading overall.
Well, right now, guys, 58 minutes to go in this race when the green flag flew. And talking to the guys at the Audi camp earlier, they said we can do maybe 56 minutes on a tank of fuel, depending on how we run it. They also told Emanuele when he left pit lane, good luck. 58 minutes, guys. I don't know. That is a long time for that diesel. It makes a lot of horsepower, and it makes it by pumping that fuel right down the pipe. So it burns gas to go fast.
That's right. They just got to coast into some of these corners, trying to immediately go into fuel-conserving mode. But if they get any sort of caution, they will be set to go. Meanwhile, his teammate Lucas Luhr, who's currently 2nd on the road, he has 7 laps less fuel on board, so he's going to have an even tougher task. And Montaigne, well, those guys are definitely going to need some fuel. It's been 37 laps since they last pitted for fuel, so a little strange decision there by the AGR boys.
Yeah, that is a bit confusing, but for Lucas Luhr, unlike Pirro and that command save fuel, I think they have let Lucas unleashed right now to try and build any kind of a margin he can.
That's right, but just pray for a yellow because he's too far out of the window, I think, to stretch it.
87 of Dirk Werner, once again, after pit stops, in the lead. Werner and that team, of course, that great win at Road America. And now Bergmeister, with that prototype traffic working through, finds himself with a little bit of a gap.
He does, and certainly in great shape. And the 87 car, they certainly pit a lot sooner. That's why they gain track position. The sooner you pit, you're going to gain track position.
And apparently we understand we are again having some technical difficulties. We apologize for that profusely. And once again, we are working on it as best and as fast as we can to get that solved for you.
I always said you had a face for radio, Greg, so go ahead.
And you're right with me. So we're cooking right along here. So meanwhile, here we go. Mello alongside Bergmeister as they head up into turn 8. This is for 2nd in GT2. Not quite far enough along. It had to tuck back in behind Jörg Bergmeister. But Mello is applying the pressure, and coming right along is Dirk Mueller in the 71 Tafel Racing Bell Micro for Ferrari. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, absolutely nose to tail.
Interesting strategy there that the 62 car's now done 2 driver changes. Jamie started the race, Mick Casallo did the middle stint, and now Jamie back behind the wheel. Turn 2, look at that. Look at that Porsche bounce there on entry. He's got those 2 Ferraris hounding him. This is sensational stuff. 71 is joining the party, and that is what the championship is all about. The 2nd place running 45 car of Bergmeister. And there we have Dirk Mueller, not far behind, separated by the Risi Competizione Ferrari.
And in the championship, they are separated, the drivers of those cars, by 7 points, and it is the drivers of the 45 that have that margin. So right now, they are in a position that with Dirk Mueller sitting a couple of spots behind to extend that, even if it's just marginally at this stage in the championship, Calvin, anything helps. But Mello, once again, oh, that was very close, forced right down to the wall. That Penske Porsche throwing up a huge trail of dust and debris. That's called the squeeze play.
Wow, look at this action here. David Brabham behind the wheel of the 9 machine. This is sensational stuff. Duking it out with the 2 Penske Porsches.
I think that was Dumas in the 7 car that threw up that debris screen. Oh, and look at this as Lucas Luhr is tracked down and gone by Montagny. And we have a new overall leader. The number 2 Audi R10 TDI of Luhr has gone around the XM satellite entry, the Acura of Montagny, and it happened where you would expect it to happen, Cal, on the Mario Andretti straight.
It certainly did, but I think both these guys have fuel issues. I know for sure that this 26 car will need some fuel here today. Lucas Luhr is going to have to stretch it somewhat. Look at the speed differential. Bam, that's about 15 miles an hour up that straightaway. Nothing that Frank Montagny could do.
And then take a look at this as Brab's trying to get around Maassen, and here comes Dumas.
And these are the 2 championship protagonists there. Dumas has the championship lead. David Brabham wants it as he tries to attack the 6 machine, currently driven by Sascha Maassen.
Lucas Luhr trying to drive that Audi to another overall win, but as you pointed out, fuel is going to be a huge concern here. You know he's trying to build a margin just in case, but still in all, they're going to need some help. Now, here is 3rd overall, 2nd in the P2 category, the 66 Panasonic ELS Surround Acura of Gilles Deferne, now behind the wheel, the 2-time kart champion.
They're in pretty good shape, Greg, according to fuel. They pitted on lap 72, so Dumas has a little bit more on board, like 1 more lap. So the 66 car has done a great job here today in terms of strategy and getting that Gilles Deferne car back towards the front of the pack.
And hounding him a little bit is Adrian Fernandez, who looked like he may have a 2nd at Road America before a suspension component broke very late in the race. That's been their luck this year, but we've talked about it. They have had tremendous pace, and they're showing it once again. Down into 3.
Oh, look how tight that is. There you see Gilles Deferne threading his way through, doing a weave job between those 2 GT cars. Now Adrian Fernandez gives chase. These guys battled in Champ Car days, and now they're doing it again on the track here in P2.
That is for 3rd overall and 2nd in the P2 category as they start that climb up the hill, the winding Mario Andretti straightaway, and Deferne has enough in hand right now to hold on over Adrian Fernandez, who is giving chase. Up front and overall, Lucas Luhr leads it. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Mazda. On any given weekend, there are more Mazdas road raced than any other brand. Welcome back, everybody, and take a look at some of the action that we're seeing here. And we have got a couple of great class battles that are now joined at the hip, if you will. There is Brabham right behind him, the guy that he's trying to beat in the P2 points championship. And they are coming up on some of the GT2 competitors that are in the points championship as well. There's the 62 machine that currently sits 3rd in class, splitting the number 45 of Bergmeister, leading he and his teammate in the championship. And a car behind the 62 is the 71 of Dirk Mueller, who is chasing Bergmeister and his teammate in the championship. So these 2 battles are pretty interesting right now and really important in terms of championship.
Well, Porsche have certainly turned the tables on the Ferrari here today in terms of strategy. Great call by the Farnbach-Alils team. They're looking for 2 in a row by taking that early pit stop, but maybe that comes down to the Porsche maybe getting slightly better mileage and open up their window slightly sooner than the Ferrari boys.
Well, Calvin, if they can end up ahead, the 45 car that is, it'll pad their championship points lead, and that is huge. But that would become on a racetrack where Jörg Bergmeister said, I don't really think that the Porsche is strong enough to beat the Ferrari here. We'll have a better shot at it in Detroit. If they can take the victory, it'll be a gift. The 2 rolls down pit road.
Your leader is in. Luhr bringing it in.
Lucas, it's going to be a short stop, okay?
It's timed fuel stop.
Should be about 8 to 9 seconds. That's probably about 25, 30 liters of fuel. Will they go to tires as well? Looks like getting tires ready, so they're basically rolling the dice here, realizing that there was no way they're going to stretch the fuel, Brian.
Yeah, it's strange to see them go to tires now, because they had talked about what good tire wear they got. They're running mediums on the left, soft compounds on the right. but strange to see him take that. I thought they might try to go all the way to the end. Perhaps, Calvin, they feel like if they lost all that time taking the fuel, they should at least give him the best handling car that they can to make a run towards the end.
Yeah, I think they're banking on a yellow here to close the pack up, and then they'll have a strong race car with enough fuel on board. Meanwhile, up front, Frank Montagny done a tremendous job, but he definitely needs fuel. It's been nearly 50 laps now, 48 laps since he was last on pit road.
And for Lure, I mean, one thing we really haven't talked about compared to some of the tracks that the American Le Mans Series races on, a short pit road here. So that time in the pits from entry to exit, not just the stop itself, not quite as detrimental.
That's right. That's very important. All these factors, the team just analyze every little thing throughout the course of the weekend. What are their out laps like? How long does it take to get the tires up to temp? All of those things come into play.
And look at this. There is the battle for what is going to be second, or is second, in GT2. Huge in terms of the championship. And you saw Mello was looking at trying to get any kind of a draft he could and maybe use that Intersport car as a little bit of a blocking back to get the hole open, to get down and underneath York. Didn't pan out, and York is hanging on, but it is by fingernails, Cal.
And thinking about the Ferrari versus Porsche battle here in the championship chase, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Ferrari utilizing Jamie Mello to try and force his way by York Bergmeister. They're not in the championship hunt, but that 45 car wouldn't hurt their feelings at all if that suddenly went off in the Thule somewhere.
It's going to be very interesting to see, and of course, the other question is, if the 62 gets by and if the 71 gets by, there's some Ferrari intra-team issues here. Meanwhile, take a look at this as we are on board with Brabs and the Tequila Patron Acura all over the back of the number 6 of Maassen.
He had a run on the outside, but the Corvette was there. He realized the Corvette was going to be on the brakes for that turn 8. He had to tuck it back to the inside. This will be frustrating to David Brabham, but this is what team racing is all about. Sometimes your second car there, they'll be playing a pivotal role in the decisions that will be made in this race here today, because right behind Brabs is the number 7 car, the championship leader of Romain Dumas.
And behind him is the number 2 of Lure. And, you know, he is going to be flat on it. They have gapped the number 7 of Dumas just a little bit.
That was traffic, maybe. He got held up by that Corvette through 8 and 9, and immediately you lose a couple of seconds.
It's good news for David Brabham not to have to look in his mirror and see that Penske, at least not yet. I just checked in with the team. I asked Duncan Dayton if they had fuel.
Sorry, Brian. Brabham made a stellar move down into Moss.
You scared me today.
Nice job, David. Nice job.
Oh, and then Maassen was that costing momentum, and the 7 of Dumas goes by. And so Brabs makes the pass, but Maassen gives it up to Dumas as well.
Okay, here's what I was trying to tell you before you scared me to death.
What's up, Brian?
Fuel.
Okay.
It's going to be close for David Brabham. I checked, and they got that fuel right there on that last full course caution lap. It's going to be close. It'll be right at about 59 minutes, 60 minutes that they're going to have to run on the fuel they have in the car. One of those laps was under full course caution, but as you can tell, these are not. He's not saving fuel right now.
Absolutely not. And Brian, you may want to run to a monitor and take a look, because we're going to go back and take a look at why we scared you to death here, because it was spectacular.
It surprised me, because I thought Maassen was going to slice to the inside of the traffic, and look at this. He was going to wait, and David Brabham just pounced. He is totally on his game, totally aware of what's going on, takes that position away. Watch this, on board with Brabs. Maassen was going to be patient. David Brabham said, thank you very much, I'm coming through. No time to wait.
Watch it here. Boy, just decisive.
But so aggressive. I mean, he was nearly in the tail of that Ferrari. That Ferrari just chopped across his brow there. There'd been nothing to go.
Taking a look at Brabs at work right now. That has moved him up. Oh, the 26 is in. Jamie.
26 is in. Frank Montagny obviously staying behind the wheel. They are putting fuel in the car. Looks like they're going to put a fresh set of Michelin tires on as well. They're not taking any chances. After falling out of that crash at Road America on their way to victory, they're going to pull out all the stops, do exactly what they can do to come back and win this race.
Oh, slow air jack there cost them some time. You could see the mechanics looking around like, what's going on? And those are precious moments in pit lane.
And they just did fronts, Cal.
Yeah, there's a lot of strange decisions going on there, so we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. But I think by not taking the pit stop during that last caution period will certainly hurt these boys at the end of the race.
Yeah, their strategy is not so obvious.
Well, they've got a plan, but Don't quite understand
it's
it
not
yet,
so
but
obvious
sometimes
to us.
things change quickly. I mean, they have so many resources at their disposal. Just you go back behind these pit boxes now, there's just laptops everywhere and a host of engineers.
And we're on board with our new overall race leader and P2 leader, Gilles de Ferran, in that Panasonic ELS Surround Acura. And from their debut at Salt Lake City, they have had, of course, a couple of moments, but overall it has been incredibly impressive. Tremendous speed. And considering they don't have the year of experience behind them here, what they've achieved is pretty impressive here.
Behind 104 seconds back.
Kind of ironic in some ways that their least competitive showing in qualifying, and now they find themselves leading relatively late in the going. They're going to be very tight on fuel. They pitted a little bit earlier than some of the other Acura teams, so Gilles will have to work his magic here.
2.5 seconds behind them is Pirro, so that's going to be interesting. There he comes into frame as well.
Big news this week is that Gilles de Ferran announced that Scott Dixon, Indy 500 winner this year, an IRL champion, I think soon to be crowned, will be joining that team at Petit Le Mans.
There, just going out of frame, was the leader in the GT2 category, the 87 of Dirk Werner. Here is second, and Jamie Mello has taken over second in GT2. We're going to go back and show you how that happened. On board with Jorg.
Straightaway speed. Jamie just ducked to the outside and had his nose in front by the time they got to the braking zone for turn 8.
So Mello has taken over second in class, and the number 87 of Farnbacher Lowells is leading in the GT2 category right now. Here is a look at the current standings in GT2, your top 5, and a good run for the 21 Panos in the hands of Tom Sutherland. And here's some of the close action that has been unfolding. Lots of discussion in pit lane. There's a lot on the line. The American Le Mans Series returns to the streets of the Motor City next weekend for the Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix on Saturday, August 30th. You can see the action live on Speed from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss the next chapter in the series' thrilling prototype and GT battles, all unfolding at Belle Isle, live on Speed. And there you have a look at the overall race leader, the 66, Gilles de Ferran, leading in the P2 category, of course, as a result of being in the overall lead, and has about 2.8 seconds in hand, at least last time by start finish, over Emanuele Pirro right now. Now I'm going to go and take a look at some other teams and drivers. We're going to take a look at the number 16, one of the Dyson, the Thetford Norcold machines. That's also a Porsche Spyder of Guy Smith. And they are currently running at 9th overall, 7th in class.
Well, they have the new DFI engine for the very first time. The 20 car does not have it this weekend, so they should have a little bit more power and better mileage at their disposal. But talking to Guy Smith this weekend, he said, since we got this new chassis after the big wreck at Lime Rock, the front downforce numbers have been way off. We keep changing the car, and every time we put the telemetry on the car, we're getting 49, 50% numbers. We need it about 45, so it's really had the team scratching their heads.
I talked to Chris Dyson after he got out of the car. He had a dismayed look on his face. He said, basically, the car has oversteer everywhere on the track. It's virtually undrivable. We're having a lot of issues.
Well, that's what we're talking about, Jamie. They just can't seem to get the front downforce out of that car. And they don't know whether it's something in the floor of the car. So much of the downforce is generated from underneath. And now we're looking at the sister car, the 20 car, now being driven by Butch Leitzinger. That car does not have the latest spec engine. They hope to have it at Detroit, where it should really make a difference with the increased torque setting.
Of course, it was this car with Butch and Marino that put together the podium in a great run at Road America in the P2 category. So it had some momentum, but just haven't really been able to find it here this weekend.
He and Marino Franchitti have really been driving their hearts out this season.
Marino told me earlier before the race that he's actually very pleased with their results this weekend, considering that they don't have the new motor and the competition that they're up against. They think that they're turning pretty competitive times and doing the best that they can with what they're given.
Well, I suppose that makes sense. You're a step behind in development compared to some of the other cars. You just want to stay close and be in the hunt. And they are, as he said, doing the best with what they are given. And take a look right behind him. Here comes the number 87. That is your leader in GT2, Dirk Werner, doing a great job. But Jamie Mello in the 62 Ferrari has trimmed that margin down to under 1.2 seconds. Last time by, maybe closer still. So Jamie Mello is flying, Cal.
Well, the Farnbacher Lowell's team certainly did a great piece of strategy by pitting the 87 car when it needed to, but Jamie Mello just has a faster race car and is chasing him down.
And here's a look at the 007, the GT2 Aston Martin in the hands of the young Brit Johnny Cocker right now. And they are sporting a brand new wing. Earlier in the week, they did some serious testing here. A lot of Aston Martin engineers came in to try and find some pace in this car. And Jamie, they seem to be running pretty well. They're up to 8th in class.
That's right, Greg. Johnny Cocker told me that this is the first race where they've actually gotten any testing in at all coming into it. They're new. All of these circuits are new to both of the drivers and the team, so getting that testing in is crucial. They feel like they got a lot of stuff figured out, and we're good to go for the race today and hopefully into the remainder of the season.
That rear wing is very different in design. It's slightly wider. It's very swoopy design there. And it's much higher. You can see it's now allowed to be at the same level as the roof line. So it can be, in fact, the highest part of the bodywork, just like the roof line.
And here's the 44 car. It is the third of the Flying Lizard entries, the Shortell East Silicon machines. This is Lonnie Pechnik behind the wheel. He and Seth Nyman doing the driving here. And Seth, of course, the lead team principal in this program. And Lonnie Pechnik, he hasn't really been behind the wheel of this car that much this year and doing a nice job.
He really is. And it's tough when you're not in there every week. He's sharing the car essentially alongside Seth with Darren Raw, of course, who had other sports car duties this weekend, couldn't be here today. So Lonnie's a great driver, and he seems to really have great chemistry with Seth, and sometimes that's what it's all about, to get results.
And speaking of results, a great run for this number 21, the Panos. And that is, of course, done by Prototype Technology Group, Tom Milner's group, and Tom Sutherland behind the wheel right now, running 5th in the class. And I talked to Tom Milner earlier in the weekend, and he said, you know, we really feel like we've got this car now right on the cusp. They've been developing it, lots of new body parts, that great new coupe that really is making the air travel well around the car, and it's never been shy on power.
The power was an issue yesterday. They did switch out that motor, though. They put a new motor in for the race, but they were popping cylinders, didn't know why, did not want to take any chances coming into the race today. Fixed the testing motor, put it in, and it looks like it's performing just as they hoped.
Yeah, it seemed like one of the rings didn't settle down, seat properly on the new motor, and it kept fouling a plug, so they had to make an engine change, but very quick in testing and very impressive in the race today.
You take a look here at the number 11 Primetime Race Group Viper. This is every press release we get every time we talk to them. They had it with Bad News Bears.
Right.
Because they came out with this car at Sebring and ran the entire race, 12 hours. Nice job. And then from that point on, their string of luck and bizarre things happening, including at Road America, they snapped a piece inside the differential that the crew chief said, I've been in racing 30 years and never seen that break. But boy, are they having a good run right now, and Chris Hall doing a super job.
They're having a great run. They did a big tire test here earlier in the week. Had 250 tires to sort through from Hankook, and really just steadily moving things along, and two great drivers there, Joel Feinberg and Chris Hall.
And the GT1 category, the third car that is taking it to these vets, and obviously that's a tough job, is the 008 Bell Motorsports entry. Terry Borchler back behind the wheel along with Chapman Ducote. And these guys, a couple of crash damage incidents forced them to miss a couple of races, but they keep showing up as well, and they're chipping away at it.
I think they're doing a great job. The car looks sensational, led by Jim Bell, who's run so many great cars over the years, has a lot of experience. And Chapman Ducote is really learning from Terry Borcheller, and the team are learning how to make this car tick on those Dunlop tires.
One thing that all of that crash damage did do for him was allow him to take another look at the car from the inside out. They have a new camera on the rear end of the car with the screen, so that there are a lot of blind spots in the Aston Martin so that they know who's coming up behind him in terms of prototypes. They also have a Mylar covering on the roof of the car. They had some trouble with heat in the cockpit, but with that new Mylar, it's significantly cooler.
All right, a lot of developments for that program, and it is coming along. And look at this, our battle in GT2. Mello has made that entire gap pretty much disappear. Officially, it was 15/100ths at the start-finish line, but it's down to a couple of car lengths. But that could change up here as a couple of these GT1 machines go. And
Borcheller there locking a tire. Jamie doesn't want to give him that line and lose time to the 87 car right in front of him. So this is a difficult moment for Jamie Mello, and Terry Borcheller's got the Corvette all over the back of him.
Fortunately, finally noses by, and this is going to break that battle up in GT2 just a little bit as the number 4 Corvette also knifes through and underneath. That's Olivier Beretta. That is running really the cars that are second and third in the GT1 category. Beretta trying to put that Aston Martin down a lap, and that has helped the 87 of Dirk Werner immensely. We are under 30 minutes remaining. Here are your top 4. This crowd knows they're watching a good one. Get on the phone or start pounding out the emails, because Dave Despain and his guests are fired up about all of this week's motorsports action. And the best place for your opinion to be heard is on Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain. Live tonight, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, only on Speed. Welcome back, everybody. Gilles de Ferran, your overall and P2 race leader, working his way through some of the GT2 field right now. And success in racing is often where the rubber meets the road. And with a little bit of information on that, Brian Tiller has our Michelin tire tip.
Aren't you cute, Greg? Now, at the beginning of the day, we thought we might get some rain. It actually started sprinkling here about 10 minutes before the green flag, but that rain went away. But the teams were prepared. And obviously, these teams run on race slicks like this one over here on the far left. Rubber all the way across, so it has a lot of contact with the road. But when it rains, tires need to be able to dissipate that water and push it out to the side. Well, this is what Michelin does. Take a look at this front tire off of one of the Corvettes. These are called sipes. Gets pushed to the outside. Now, this is a standard sipe, but the teams are also capable of taking a grooving iron and making them bigger, like this sipe right here. You can see the difference in size. What they do is that allows the front tire to channel even more water out to the outside. A lot of times they don't groove the rear tires, just the fronts, because what they found is that the front tires dissipate so much water out of the way, it leaves a nice track for the rear tire. You can see every other sipe on this front tire has been grooved. Now, this groove pattern, obviously it's good for the race car, but this is exactly what your street car tires are like. They've got to be grooved so that you too can drive it in all conditions. They have sipes, so when it rains, you're safe on the street.
All right, Brian, thanks very much. And we're going right back to that great battle in GT2. This for the lead, the 87 of Dirk Werner and the 62 Ferrari of Jamie Mello. And boy, in traffic, obviously, when the prototypes comes working through, it helps Werner a little bit. He gets the gap built up, but once it clears up, here comes Mello, closes it right up, but here come the prototypes again.
I know, and it's going to split him again, and this is what Jamie Mello is being frustrated by. He gets right on the tail of Dirk Werner, and then he gets separated by traffic, and that creates a gap. Look at this action. Doesn't get any better than this. This is the American Le Mans Series. It's what it's all about. 4 different classes, driving on the same piece of racetrack. It gets hairy. It's wild.
I'll tell you what, Brabham, as a result of that traffic, is now all over the back of the 15 of Adrian Fernandez. There's Fernandez, and that is for second in P2. And if the 66 has fuel issues, that could change things up big time. So Brabham has fought his way back around and moved up third in class and hounding second in class into turn 8.
He is, and we have notes from various radio communication. The 15 team said they're very close on fuel, maybe a little short, but we can't afford to get past. You've got to do everything you can, Adrian, to keep the car in front of Brabham.
And watching here as they dive down through turn 1, Brabs is that close. Coming up on some traffic, and they're working through. There is the 66 of Gilles de Ferran, and he is leading overall, leading in P2. And there's been a bit of a discrepancy as to whether or not they're going to be okay on fuel. And Jamie, you got one report, didn't you?
I did. I checked in with the team, and they said they're going to monitor it, but they're pretty sure they're good until the end. They have no worries at this time.
Now, the other side of the coin, as we tend to listen in on some radio communications whenever we can, is de Ferran working his way through some traffic here. And a communication from the Audi pit to Emanuele Pirro seemed to indicate a little bit differently, Cal. Whoa! Oh, look at de Ferran.
Emanuele Ferran must stop. All you need to do is keep Fernandez behind you. Save fuel. Keep Fernandez behind and save fuel.
So the 66 team is telling Jamie they are good on fuel. They're going to monitor it. The number 1 team looking for that overall victory here today, currently second on the road, believe that 66 must pit. The 15 team have 1 more lap of fuel than the 66, and Brabham 1 lap better than them. So David Brabham has 2 more laps of fuel in his race car than this man, Gilles de Ferran.
5.6 to Fernandez.
And there you heard the message going on. Gilles de Ferran, oh, and there it is, the change in the GT2 category as Jamie Mello has gone underneath Dirk Werner and has picked up the lead in that class. Werner slots to second, and you know, you go back, you think about Road America 2 weeks ago, and these two on that last lap was a pretty amazing battle. And now
fuel is not an issue. We got a couple of laps to spare. You go as hard as you need to go.
That's Rick Mayer on the radio to his driver saying fuel is not an issue. They've got many more laps of fuel in the 87 car. Let's take another look at this pass. Traffic was involved behind the Aston Martin. Dirk Werner pops out. Jamie gets the run down on the inside for turn 1. Timed it perfectly. Dirk Werner, though, is so impressive, Greg. He's one of these new young Porsche drivers. He's not a Porsche factory driver. Done the contra yet. Farnbacher just love this guy. He is so impressive, very polite, a real gentleman. But boy, does he drive a race car fast.
Now back in P2, we are back on board with the number 9 Tequila Patron Acura of David Brabham.
Dumas got around him, Greg.
Got him, yeah.
That is so significant. These guys battling it out in the championship chase. Not the first time they've swapped positions here today. Two guys absolutely on top of their game. They don't get any better than these two guys in this category. David Brabham and Romain Dumas.
And closing quickly on the 15 of Adrian Fernandez. I'd mentioned that Brabham had been all over the back of him, and now with Dumas getting by. But look at Brabs tucked in behind Dumas. Pulls out. Pulls alongside. Now he's out of the tow, and things stabilize. Boy, they are so closely paired, Kelvin.
There it is, and look at the speed through turn 8. Dumas really quick through there. David was going to try and take the long way around. He needed some traffic to help him out.
Under 20 minutes remaining, so this is getting very fraught. And remember, that yellow car leads in the championship over the Drivers' Championship, certainly over the drivers of this Acura we ride on board with. So this has huge implications.
It really does. Look at this, trying to read the traffic. You have to gap the traffic. There's no point in running right up on the gearbox of the car in front and then being balked. Dumas does a great job there underneath the vet. Brabs through too.
Just checked in with Duncan Dayton. I asked him if David was dropping back a little bit because he was having to save fuel. He said, no, we're just getting messed up in traffic a bit. It's ebb and flow, and we just got to get the flow and not the ebb. So right now they're working on traffic, trying to get Brabs back up towards the front. As far as fuel goes, they're still going to be close. I've listened to the 15 on their radio. They're running Adrian Fernandez on a fuel map that is a conservation mode. They've told him he can turn it up if he needs to get past somebody. As for the 2 car, remember, it was going to be close all along, so I think it's a high-stakes game of poker right now to the end.
Well, they just took the lead in P1. Lucas Luhr just blasted his way around Piron. We heard radio communication from the Audi camp to let the 2 car by. They believe that Lucas Luhr may have the speed. He certainly has the fuel on board to get this car to the overall lead here today.
Well, the official margin at the line, 5.2 to Gilles de Ferran. And depending upon what story you believe in terms of the de Ferran camp, that could have been a pass for the overall win.
It really could, and remember the strategy.
To the leader, 5 seconds to the leader, 17 laps to go.
Howden, his engineer, giving him the information. What is the gap and how many laps do I have to do it in? When you're out front like this, leading your class, but you want that overall victory, you need every piece of information. Lucas Luhr is flying right now.
He's flying, and Emanuele Pirro, remember, was sent out with some awfully tough duty to try and get to the front but conserve fuel. They brought Luhr in, did that stop, gave him those tires, and those tires obviously are helping a great deal as well. So he is flying right now. And we want to let you know that we are going to step away for just a moment. Here are your 4 class leaders. When we come back, we are going to take you right to the finish and the checkered flag. Welcome back to Mosport, everybody. And one of the things the American Le Mans Series, and aside from providing just immense competition, is creating a partnership with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Energy, and SAE International to incorporate green racing principles. And it is going to culminate with the Green Challenge when it makes its debut at the Petit Le Mans. Now, there's already a number of teams that are running alternative fuels and the like, but that's going to take it to another step. The American Le Mans Series, truly a leader in the greening of racing, And tell you what, it is going to be a great competition when that unfolds, but we've got some awfully good stuff unfolding here. Gilles de Ferran continues to lead, but can they make it to the end? That is one of the big questions right now. Plus, we go back in the order here in P2 to take a look. This is the battle for the points championship in many ways. The 15 of Adrian Fernandez, of course, they've been fast but had problems this year, but right behind them is Romain Dumas in the Penske Porsche, and right behind them is Brabham in the Highcroft Acura. And those two, the yellow Porsche and the green and blue Acura, this is a battle that is, has really a reach far beyond just this race.
It certainly has been throughout this championship season. Here we see Dumas looking to the inside of Adrian Fernandez. Perhaps has to go the long way around of the Panos. The big question mark is the 66 car that leads the race overall and in class. They have the least amount of fuel on board. They've been running at full lean, we hear in the radio communication, and believe they may be able to make it. But the rest of these boys, well, who knows? Certainly that DFI engine in the Porsche is regarded as being the most fuel efficient in the P2 class currently. That's the yellow Penske Porsche there, driven by Dumas. They're meeting this Acura sandwich right now.
We're going to watch this all unfold right to the checkered flag, the final 12.5 minutes uninterrupted. And the other story here is de Ferran.
Oh, Dumas in the grass there, going inside the 11 machine in turn 8. That is high speed right through that corner.
And look at Brabham getting a bit of a run as a result. Unsettled Dumas just a bit. As we watch this battle, just going to let you know that de Ferran now, Lure has trimmed that margin to 4.3. So still some work for Lure to do. But this battle is so compelling for so many reasons.
Update on the overall leader. Gilles de Ferran has just been told we are very tight on fuel. This is going to come down the last couple of laps. There he is.
Is he slowing?
Great job, Gilles. Keep at it. Gap growing a little bit.
All right.
Coming off Moss corner there at low speed, accelerating down that long straightaway. So deceiving from that aerial view, Greg. It did look like he was not up to full speed.
There's the margin. There you see de Ferran. There's Lure. So that's what's in it for the overall battle right now.
Lure pitted 13 laps later than Gilles de Ferran, so I think he's got fuel to burn. Remember, he made that additional pit stop. There's his teammate. Now Brabham putting the pressure on Dumas. Can he make him crack? David Brabham and the Highcroft team think that they have this number 7 car rattled here this championship season. But so far, they haven't cracked.
Oh, a little wiggle by Dumas. Unfortunately, this straight, unless you get badly balked, it's kind of short to be able to really
look at David fighting the wheel there, Greg. You get that aero wash off the car in front. You need all of your downforce through this turn 1 and 2. Unbelievably fast through there, about 150 miles an hour.
Out of 3, now into the blind approach, fall away, turn 4, flat. Into Moss.
Brabs needs some help from his Acura stablemate, let's call him. Adrian Fernandez up there. He needs Adrian to work some magic here.
Repeat that transmission, please. Repeat that transmission.
We're not hearing it, so maybe the team are not hearing David Brabham respond to Rob Hill on the radio. Oh, he dives back to the inside. Dumas takes the line away.
10-4, David. There's 10 minutes remaining. Keep him in sight. Just keep him in sight.
Boy, this is a chess match extraordinaire between those two. And it's developing. Oh, and there's de Ferran. Gets balked.
Big time.
And here comes Lure. And in traffic, the Audi is pure magic.
Push the pass. 6-3 when you're ready.
There we go, down into Moss.
Boy, the Audi that close.
Yeah, he's going to have to defend going up into turn 8. He may have enough of a gap, but watch this. This is like a freight train that is now about to run over the leader of this race. Watch this Audi come.
8 seconds for Fernandez.
Especially if de Ferran's conserving fuel. Here it is, and there it goes. I mean, as you said, a freight train, and he just blows on both. Now you can see where de Ferran closes up.
10 laps remaining.
10 laps to go, they're saying.
Oh, now some traffic, but Lure.
Gilles de Ferran, though, Greg, needs to think about getting their first-class win. Forget the overall. Lucas is too strong here today. Just think about the guys behind you.
Yep, and I mean, it would be a remarkable achievement having come into the series after. Oh, the 11 Viper, a problem. That is down at the exit of 2, the approach to 3.
Joel Feinberg behind the wheel. Looked like he'd had a moment coming off of turn 2, ended up in the World Driver's left. Will this be the caution to shake things up here in the final few laps? Car doesn't look to be too bad, but we can't see the left side right now. That's the leader. Lucas Luhr threading his way through traffic carefully. Gilles de Ferran back on his tail, but this will be no contest down the straightaway again.
Luhr, no worries on fuel, fresh tires. De Ferran, big fuel worries, and there you go. The 11 of Feinberg able to drive away. See if we can see what happened.
Here we are. Oh, he just didn't drop a wheel. He just lost it coming off the exit of turn 2. And he is a very lucky boy there that he didn't make major contact with that concrete wall. You don't have a problem like that in turn 2 and get away with it very often.
Now Luhr coming up second in GT2. The Porsche, he goes by De Ferran. Oh, De Ferran. Boy, that was
37 cars losing speed there.
Richard Berry, third driver for that car.
Ferran doesn't seem to want to give up this overall lead, Greg. He's fighting it pretty hard, but he has to keep the pace up. Lucas Luhr can control it at the front. Gilles de Ferran realizes he's got 3 very hungry P2 cars hounding him, not far behind.
Now maybe they have a good idea of where that fuel strategy is. Pirro is 11 seconds behind De Ferran, so he does have a little bit of room to play with. But only 5 seconds behind Pirro is Fernandez, and then Brabham, Dumas, Maassen. But as I was going to say, they may, even if obviously they're not going to get the overall win, we would imagine at this stage. But for this team, which really didn't even come online until a few races into the season at Salt Lake, to get a P2 win, class win this quick, it tells you what this team is capable of.
Right. I'll tell you what, Gilles de Ferran is laying down laps faster than the P2 cars that are pounding him, and they have more fuel on board. So Gilles is always such a professor and really a great strategist, and I'm sure he's on top of things, getting the information from pit lane. There you saw the 37 car off to the side of the road. That's not a good spot. Just over 6.5, or just under 6.5 minutes to go. Will we see a caution here at the end?
And Brabham has gone around Dumas. He has made the pass, putting himself back in third in the class, but more importantly, in front of the team that they are trying to make some ground up. And we're going to go back and show you how it happened. And once again, Cal, traffic played a key role.
It really did, and right now what he needs some help from Adrian Fernandez. Let's take a look here, down in turn 1. There you see the Flying Lizard car gets in the way of Dumas, and Brad just jinked to the outside. I don't think he planned that. That was just reactionary. Watch how close this was. Come up on Lonnie Pechnik. Dumas has to wait, and Brabham just takes it around the outside. Total commitment there by these drivers.
Now, putting huge pressure on Adrian Fernandez, and you were talking about the stablemate issue. What happens here?
Well, what happened at Road America was you had an Acura potential 1, 2, 3, and that all went away. What they need David Brabham to do is not only finish ahead of the 7 car, but also pad it with some other Acuras. Look at Dumas. He is way behind now. I wonder if he has some kind of issue or whether it's just traffic, but he has just lost a huge amount of time.
Oh, and look at this. Huge implications in the GT2 points championship. That is the 45 of Bergmeister, and 71 Dirk Mueller took a run at him and got the door slammed and wasn't able to get through, but they touched as the reports were getting. And look at Mueller down to the outside trying to make it work.
2 hard charges here. Jörg Bergmeister and Dirk Mueller trading paint here for that podium spot.
And Monteni sweeping around the outside of both, didn't get in between them, didn't break this battle up.
Only 7 points between these guys coming in this race. 4 points, the difference in position here. They can half that total easily with this pass.
Watch it, boom. Jörg just dissuaded him a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, 2 guys absolutely on the limit. Great racing.
And through Moss. Well, Jörg did get a little bit of a better jump out of Moss. And that's going to help down the run here. Now we'll see what kind of legs this Ferrari has.
Well, Jörg Bergmeister said we used to have an advantage down the straightaway, but it doesn't seem to be there anymore. Ferrari have really done their homework in every area of the race car, including horsepower.
Dirk showed the nose, but wasn't close enough to really take any kind of a run at it.
But these last couple of turns, if it's this close on the last lap, you have to wonder whether Dirk Müller will stuff inside right there when the checkered flag will be in sight.
All right, Dan Jorg able to draw away by a couple of car lengths. That's a nice little cushion. Now, change in P2, and it's a big one. Watch this, on board with David Brabham. Happened just a moment ago, Cal.
Drives Adrian along the long back straightaway. Seems like Brabs has a little less downforce in the car. We saw Sharp make some moves down the straightaway as well earlier in the race. Clears Adrian easily. Takes over that second position in class. Fourth on the road.
And that's huge in terms of those points we keep talking about as we get near the end of this championship.
Oh, this is tight. Around the Aston Martin. Can Müller take advantage? Great job by Jörg Bergmeister controlling that situation.
The battle for third in this class, but huge points implications, so it is fascinating.
Use the button, use the button.
We're getting used the button. You hear that on the radio. It might be just a fuel switch.
That's the 71 car we're hearing that radio communication from, so that may be like a push to pass where you get full fuel. They're doing it again. They're trading paint there down the straightaway. This is high-speed stakes here at Mosport. Will Müller force the issue and tag him in the rear? So easy to do. You can play dirty here, and the other car's going to be around in a heartbeat.
All right, on to the front straight we go one more time. And I'll tell you, this is just compelling stuff. Here are the current points, and as you said, Calvin, only 7. So
nearly loses it, drops a wheel. Coming off of one. Great stuff, Brian.
Now remember this new Porsche, the one they're running in 2008, much wider in the back, larger rear tires. A year ago, those rear tires would have been gone on that 45 car, as much sliding around as hard as he's running it. This year, the balance much better, but Bergmeister had said that Ferrari still has better balance through these high-speed flowing corners. We put the power down good, still with the engine in the back. That's why we see the car off the corner so well, and now the 7 on pit road right behind me.
Wow, well, we saw Dumas suddenly drop back. That is a surprise. They can't have got a full fuel load in or some kind of issue getting all of the fuel out of the tank. That is a huge surprise here today.
And hugely costly as well, as obviously he's going to get leapfrogged a bit. And by the way, we're getting a report from race control that the 45 and the 71 and GT2 have been warned that if they keep up that shoving match, they may have to be visiting pit lane. So that's going to stop.
This is a rare occurrence that you see the Penske boys getting caught a little bit short, just over a minute to go. So they got their sums a little bit wrong here today. How costly will that be? The key is, can those Acuras get to the checkered flag here without needing fuel also?
Lucas Luhr looking awfully good. Marco Werner, a great opening stint as well. And Luhr.
Think about this though, Greg. Remember, this car got severely damaged. We talked about the track breaking up down in turn 4 on the practice day. Well, one of those rocks came up and took a big chunk out of the monocoque. The Audi team had to change it. This is a different race car.
Oh, and look at this as Brabs, driving like a man possessed, has caught Pirro.
He doesn't really need this position. The man he's looking for is Gilles de Ferran, who's quite a ways down the road.
Well, fuel mileage already beginning to take its toll. I just heard on the radio talking to Adrian Fernandez. Go to reserve. I don't care. We're not going to pit. Go to reserve. He's got less fuel mileage or less fuel in the car than the 66 does. So if the 15 already beginning to suffer, you got to believe there's no way the 66 could make it. I talked to Duncan Dayton. He doesn't believe the 66 has enough fuel to go.
Well, Brabs has 2 more laps of fuel on board than the 66, so you'd have to think that Brabham will be in better shape. Everyone here gasping for fuel here with 1 lap to go.
As you said, final lap in this one. There is Luhr. Overall, he should be okay. Obviously, they made that late stop, put the tires on. Luhr should not have any issues whatsoever at this point. There is the number 4 Corvette, second in class to the team entry of number 3, Jan Magnussen. So they're looking good for another run here. And there's the 45, Cal, and it's dropped back a bit.
He has dropped back. You have to wonder whether he's starving for fuel there. Let's take a look at it. Oh, Dirk Mueller slides it down to the inside. Now it'll be interesting to see how the officials view this one. Both of these teams have been told on the radio, clean your act up, boys. So Dirk Mueller forced the issue down there in Moss corner.
Meanwhile, out of the final turn, Lucas Luhr, Marco Werner, the Audi R10 TDI, another overall win this year. A great run here at Mosport.
Absolutely brilliant, big fella. Well done, well done.
That was a stellar drive by Lucas Luhr. He was a long way behind when they had to take that pit stop. He drove through the field and had the speed to take the lead.
And how about the 62 Ferrari Mello and Salo? Finally, the monkey off their back in the American Le Mans Series this year with the win. And De Ferran struggling, and Brabham wins in P2. You have to think fuel.
We thought they were going to be tight on fuel. They rolled the dice. Brabham has got around Gilles De Ferran and taken their 4th victory of the season. That has huge championship implications. That's Gilles De Ferran running out shy of the start-finish line.
Unbelievable developments, but that is how close you have to push it to be successful in the American Le Mans Series. Unbelievable racing here. We're going to step away for just a moment. Here are your class winners. We'll be back. Round 8 is in the books, and a fascinating event is the only way to put it. Lucas Luhr and the Audis going 1-2. And here is maybe the huge story, Cal.
Well, it is. Romain Dumas is out of fuel, and we saw Gilles De Ferran run out. Well, right now, Dumas is going to finish behind him in 6th spot.
Like that. He's also stopped on the track. I'm in front of De Ferran now.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He has to get to the start-finish line to be classified another lap and get that position. Right now he's classified 6th. He's got to get all the way to the start-finish line. He's getting outside assistance, so that is not going to work. He's going to finish 6th today. Brabham gets the win. Huge points change here at Mosport.
Absolutely. You can understand Dumas' argument that he's trying to make, that he got further up the track,
but that doesn't matter.
It's scoring at the line, and that's how it ends up. So this video is awfully important and may come back to play.
Look at these boys can't believe it. Talk about getting things rolling your way. They have the momentum. They have sliced that lead to the Penske boys. David Brabham, the Highcroft team, just can't believe it. They just can't believe it.
Look at that discussion going on. Unbelievable. Huge. So we take a look at our class results. P1 of unofficial results, as we said, the Audis going 1-2. Then the field and Barry Lola able to get down to 3rd, and then the other cars in the class finishing it out. Let's get down to Brian.
Well, the only miscue all day long for Lucas Luhr and Marco Werner was Lucas missing victory circular out here on the front straightaway, but great job, especially there in the end. That fight back to the front for your 5th overall win of the season, 7th victory in P1.
Yeah, it was really good. I didn't, when they told me I had to come in again for fuel and tires, I say, oh, that's difficult. And then he told me the gap, and I saw I was catching all the others. They told me I had to push like hell, so I did, and we won, thanks to everybody.
Well, congratulations on a great victory, and they did it, remember, with that damaged front splitter.
Yeah, those Audis are sturdy. That's another part of it. Look at that. Boy, they're loving this moment. Now in GT1, Cal, again, the number 3 of O'Connell and Magnussen get it done. What a season they are having, Jamie.
Yeah, and Magnussen fresh out of the car. You guys beat the 4 car, but you're not going just after the championship. You want the record. The record in ALMS is 9 wins in 1 season. You had the chance for 10. How does this help you?
Wow. It's, you know, 7 wins so far, 3 races to go with a chance to, we just have to win 2. Actually, we have to win 3 to get the record, I guess. But no, but the way things are going now, the way Johnny's driving, that I'm driving, the way the whole crew is working together, and especially in a day like today where traffic is so important not to get bogged down in traffic. And this team is just awesome, helping me through that. I didn't have to look at my mirrors at all. Dan was telling me exactly where to place the car all the time. It was a big help.
A lot of inter-team rivalry, guys.
Yeah, and a helpful spotter. That's big. Now, here are our P2 unofficial results in the story right there. At the top is Brabs. In 6th is Dumas in terms of the points. Now, let's take a look at the key moment here, Cal.
Here it is. We're on board with David Brabham, and up ahead is Gilles de Ferran. There you see, right there. Brabham flashes by. He had 2 more laps of fuel on board.
Let's get down to Brian.
Scott Sharp, David Brabham talking about the victory. David, I went to Duncan towards the end of the race. I said, who's got the fuel? He said the 66 doesn't, the 15 doesn't. I hope we do. Did you believe you had it?
Well, I just went by what everyone was saying to me on the radio, and save fuel, go, save fuel, and I kept looking in the mirror, and I could see that other guys were out there trying to save fuel as well, so I knew I wasn't the only one. But, you know, I have to say the Patron Highcroft car out there, the Acura, was fantastic because it was just so hooked up out there, and I could save fuel well and carry good speed in the corners. So, you know, Scotty here did an awesome job at the beginning, and the team, again, with its strategy and everything, was awesome.
4th victory for Highcroft and Acura, and they all came with this team and this driver pair. Greg?
Absolutely. Now we take a look at our GT2 unofficial results. Melo Salo get the win. The monkeys off their back in the American Le Mans Series. Absolutely phenomenal. Now that finish for 3rd and 4th, the 71 and the 45, is officially under review because of the warning and then the banging that continued after that. So that's going to be a big story as well here. So next, keep in mind, in terms of the championship in the American Le Mans Series, is Detroit, less than a week away, actually. So a big turnaround, Cal.
It really is a totally different racetrack. We go from the high speeds of Elkhart Lake and here at Mosport to the tight street confines of Detroit. But it will be quite a show.
Coming up tonight on Speed, next is AMA Motocross, then the Speed Report, NASCAR Victory Lane, and then Wind Tunnel. Thanks for joining us, everybody. For everybody at Speed, appreciate you joining us here at Magical Mosport. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.